Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. We are so thrilled you're here today, you guys. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot to get to today, and we will also save some questions for the end. And while we're getting started here, I would ask if you could check in. So checking in allows us to continue pursuing these grants that allow these events to happen at no cost to you. So we have a QR code on the screen, or if you can't use that, maybe you're on your phone or something, jump over to the chat, because the chat, we have dropped the link for the QR code and for the registration. And so if you could do that for us real quick, that would be fantastic. And we'll get started here by doing this. I would like to get a sense of who's here today. So if you could open the chat, which is on the bottom of your screen if you're on your computer. If you're on your phone, sometimes there's 3 dots, sometimes it says more. You can drop that, click on that, and let us know who you are and where you're calling us from. And I would love to also know what job type you're looking for. What kind of job are you looking for, if you know, or maybe an industry, but something about the kind of job you're looking for. So in the chat, who are you? Where are you joining us from? And tell us a little bit about the industry or the job that you are looking for. My name is Jessica Pierce, and I'm the founder and CEO of Career Connectors, and I'm excited to get to teach these occasionally. And today I'm doing the Job Search Essentials. And so welcome. We're going to give an overview of job search and some tips and tricks and some things to think about, maybe some things to do a little differently than you've done it before. I founded Career Connectors in 2009 when we were in the middle of the Great Recession. And through that time, I just saw a whole bunch of people around me that were getting laid off and not sure of their next step, not sure what to do. And so started asking people if they needed some help with their resumes, and that quickly grew into an organization. And now we have served over 75,000 people, and I'm just incredibly grateful to get to do this work. And so I'm glad you are all here today. And let's see. Thank you, guys. If you haven't opened the chat yet, go ahead and do that. Open the chat box and then drop in the chat who you are, where you're calling us from, and the type of job you are looking for. We see, great, Andrea, New York City. Hi, Stacia, I think, from Phoenix. Good morning. Tim, oh, great. We've got a lot of people here from all over. Welcome. We have accounting, customer service. This is a great way for you all to connect with each other and kind of get to know each other. And I'm also going to recommend that we have a that you also connect on LinkedIn. And something I want to address real quick, Wendy, I'm just going to talk to this because I can't type it out. If you have access to the Zoom account, you can get the dial-in information. So if you want to jump over there and get the dial-in information, you can send it over to that person trying to get on audio. All right, so welcome everyone. We're again thrilled you are here. We're going to be doing a lot around job searching today. And you're going to see, we're going to talk about the market a little bit and some trends. A lot of this talk is going to be focused on thinking like a hiring manager. So I want you're going to take a moment to adjust and really think through the lens of, if I'm a hiring manager, what am I looking for? Because if you adjust to that lens and we talk through the components of what are the main things that a hiring manager is looking for, then it helps you adjust to how you market yourself, how you network, how you write your resume, how you interview, because it's all about what does essentially the person, the client, what do they need? How can you help them the most? So that's the lens, because that's how you get hired. When companies are like, oh, that person can help us get from here to here, or that person can fill this role because they've done it before. And then we're going to jump into some job searching tools and give you some tips on these. We're not deep diving into any of these today. We're going to kind of give a little overview. We have workshops around a lot of these interviews, resumes, networking, etc., that do a deeper dive. But we will give you some good content today and good support here on that. All right, so I'm jumping over the chat one more time to kind of take a look at. How about this? Let's do this, you guys. In the chat, I'm going to get a sense of who's here today. So right now we have about 45 people on the line. I would love to know if you are actively job searching or if you're just kind of taking a, kind of putting your toe in, I guess, putting your toe in, or if you're maybe a community partner. So if you are actively job searching, can you drop a 1 in the chat? If you're like, hey, yeah, I'm really looking for a job. I'm ready. Either I'm currently working or I'm not, but I am looking for a new job. That's a 1. Drop that in the chat. If you are, I'm working or I'm a business owner, but I'm kind of looking to see if there's a job out there that would be a good fit for me, could you drop a 2 in the chat? And if you are a community partner or somebody that is a volunteer, drop a 3 in the chat. I would love to see the makeup of who we have on the line today. Good morning, Ashley. All right, Jeffrey, great, Brenda, awesome. Okay, so the majority of us look like we are actively looking, and we have also some community partners online and a couple of you that are kind of like, I'm kind of looking for my next job. I'm not really sure what that looks like yet. So welcome, welcome. Glad you all are here and you're in the right place. And again, if you're just logging in, please make sure to check in, and we'll have a check-in QR code again at the end. But the check-in allows us to track some data so we know the audiences that are checking in with us, and it allows us to continue to pursue these grant opportunities that have been offered or are offered up to us when we can show the data of who is attending and who we're serving. So thank you to Pinal County, Arizona at Work, Pinal County. This is being sponsored by them. And so originally this program is to support Pinal County residents, and also they have opened it up to virtually to anyone who would like to attend. So thank you so much, Pinal County. We so appreciate this partnership. Yeah, yay, Trisha, I see you. We're so grateful. We're so grateful. Okay, so let's talk a little bit on the workforce and where we're at right now. So we are currently around, these numbers are lagging a little bit, which is typical, but we're running around 4.1%, across 3.5% in Arizona, 4.1% in the US. And I'm talking specifically about Arizona for a second, because this program is sponsored by Arizona at Work, Pinal County, but I am also going to talk about the US in general. And I'm going to give you some tips. If you're not here, if you're from Texas or Florida or New York, some of you are on the line from other states, I'm going to give you some ideas on where to pull this information for yourself, for your state as well. So we have seen a little jump in unemployment numbers in Arizona and in the US. Now, we don't have all the January data yet. And so again, this was even last year, but we don't have the January data, but I am hearing there's a little bump there because we've had such an increase in layoffs. So this trend has not stopped. This trend has continued since last year. And obviously I don't have a crystal ball to tell you if it's going to continue. But at the same time, we've also seen jobs grow. So job growth has continued, but also layoffs. In fact, in January, there was job growth, pretty significant job growth, which is typical in January. But I did see a report that it was a little bit less than what the projection was. So we are continuing to grow, and that's national. That's national numbers. So you can get all of the actual data on BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. My opinion is that is a difficult site to figure out, to navigate. And I work in workforce, and so I understand it a little bit. It's hard. So what I recommend you do is go out to, if your state should have a website for the governor's office. Ours is called the office, Arizona's is called the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity, OEO. And that's where our data sits. They do reports all the time, every quarter, and usually monthly, that'll give updates. And so go out to your governor's website and there should be a tab for workforce or economic development, and there should be information specific to your state on your numbers if this is interesting to you, because you can also often see industries that are growing. And so you can see on the right-hand side industries that are growing, and we know that education and health services are growing, and for some reason BLS puts those together, but education is growing, and so are anything to do with health services. In fact, we are hearing that health services, anything to do with healthcare, is going to increase significantly, continue to increase every year. And it's eventually going to be 40% of us are going to be doing something connected to healthcare. It is growing that much. So it doesn't matter if you're an RN, a CNA, a doctor, or you're somebody that supports that industry. You can be in finance, IT, anything, and it will support healthcare. So don't think just because you're not a doctor, nurse, CNA, something like that, that you can't be serving in healthcare. You absolutely can. Almost every single industry touches healthcare. And then professional and business services, and those are things like oftentimes insurance, customer service, anything that supports business, essentially. And then you can see manufacturing, etc. So those are some of the growing industries. Whoops, let's go back here. I'm sorry, here, my thing has got away. So that's a high level overview of what employment looks like across the nation, but also a little bit specific to Arizona for some of you that are on the call from Arizona or Pinal County. Now let's talk about some trends. High level overview of workforce, and here are some trends. I think this is important for us to understand, because the workforce and workplace is different than it was even 5 years ago. So one of the big differences that we have is an influx of Gen Z. Gen Z are people that were born from 1997 to 2013. So I'm a Gen Xer. These are my kids. So if you're Gen X, these might be your kids, but it is and I call them kids. I don't mean to call them kids. They're young people, young professionals that are coming into the workforce. And get this, you guys, they're going to be 27% of the workforce this year. 27%. So we have to adjust. We have to welcome, mentor, get behind, hire, support this Gen Z workforce. And it is changing the way that we work. Some of us may be in an interview with somebody that is 23 years old, and that may happen. And so we have to understand, how do we adjust to that? How do we adjust and have those interviews so that they're relatable? Also, digital literacy. This generation specifically grew up in the digital age. They grew up with iPads all around, the ability to use a cell phone when they were young. Computers were available to them. They don't know how to turn the dial on a TV. They don't know how to pick up a phone and talk this way, because they don't know how to put, the headsets on that we had, what are they called? Walkmans. Like, that's not a thing. So their digital literacy is very strong. And so we're all adapting to the way business is happening. And the largest change that's going to happen, that is happening right now, is the growth of AI. And if you're not familiar with AI and artificial intelligence yet, I'm going to encourage you to start to learn some of this stuff. It's really, really important. And so we're going to go into some of that. I'll talk a little bit about AI and what that is and what it means and how you use it. And I have a tool for you guys that I'm going to be sending out afterwards, a worksheet. And so don't get left behind on AI, adapting and learning that. Also, we are learning about, or we are doing, many of us are doing the remote thing. So you might be hybrid, you might be remote. That's not going away. Hybrid will continue to increase. And that means when you're working on multiple, you're both working remote and you're working in the office occasionally. We see an increase in hybrid because companies are wanting their people to be connected, be in the office occasionally. And so that is happening, though, if you are fully remote and want to maintain fully remote, those opportunities are out there. And then the other workforce trend I just want to touch on real quick is the focus on mental health. Mental health has become an epidemic in America. And so companies are trying to support this, not support the epidemic, but support so that employees aren't feeling as burned out. So that they are mentally strong, because they know mentally strong employees make really better employees. And so they are trying to do some mental health programs and support you. So you may see some of that happening. You may see some of that happening as you go into the work, as you go into your next job, that these kind of things are out there and available, which is a win. That's a good thing, because we have been calling for it for many, many years. Okay, so those are some of the trends. I just wanted to make sure we were baselined on where we are with unemployment and where we are with some workforce trends, because now we're going to get into some of the meat of this. Let's talk about the hiring process. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys is, if you have questions, drop it in the chat. So again, the chat is down at the bottom of your screen. Click on that, put it up in the chat, and I will try and go back and forth and try to figure out or answer your questions. All right, let's see. I have a question here. Oh, yes, the recording. So we are recording this, and it will be available to you after. Usually it takes a couple hours for the system to download. So you will get an email after this event today that'll have a whole bunch of resources. It'll have an attachment for you, and then it'll also have the recording link. And so you can go back and watch this as much as you want. So the hiring process. Let's put our brains around thinking like a hiring manager. Let's think about the components that if you have hired before. In fact, why don't you drop that in the chat? If you have been a hiring manager before, can you just put that in the chat real quick? Say yes. Let me know. Let us know if you've been a hiring manager before. Thank you, Brian. Oh, hi, Brian. Good to see you. Tim, awesome. Okay, so we have some hiring managers on the line. So when you are hiring somebody and thinking, okay, I have a really great job. I'm going to hit up my network. Who do I know that might be a good fit for this? And so any of us that hire and think about, okay, this person I have to get along with, they need to make a big impact. Who do I know in my network? That's who I'm going to first. But then as you're interviewing and thinking through it, you're really like, are they the right fit? Can they do the job? Do they have the character traits? Do they have the traits of a person that can do this job and would fit into our company? Do I like them? Because people hire people they like. Do they have that chemistry? And those three components of a competence match, a character match, and a chemistry match are the components that people look at, that companies look at to make a hire and say, yes, they could be a culturally strong candidate here. And those are the pieces we're going to dive into right now. So first of all, let me just give you an idea of what a hiring process, a recruitment process looks like. It's a lot. It can be a lot. Every company is a little bit different. Some companies, you can go in and do an interview first day, and then they're going, yay, I think you're a great fit, and we'll do an offer. But that doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, it's multiple layers. And so you might have to submit online. You might meet someone at a networking event, and then they refer you. And then you get, you have to submit your information online, and then somebody will reach out to you. Maybe it's a pre-screening call. It's a call with the recruiter to see if you do have all the character traits. Then you're going to take an assessment or maybe answer some questions. And then you're going into your first interview. It might be with a hiring manager. And then maybe you have 2, 3, or 4 more interviews, and that are maybe a panel interview. Maybe you're going to lunch with somebody. And then you're like, okay, we're going to do your background check. We're going to do an offer and a background check. You do an offer, you spend time negotiating. And then finally you get to a place where you can have an offer that you agree to, you sign the offer, and then there's a start date a couple weeks later, but there's usually stuff even within that period of time you're doing. I'm not telling you this to overwhelm you. I am telling you this because it is normal to feel like you're moving at a snail's pace. That is normal. So in that process, you need to pull out of feeling frustrated as much as possible, because it's not you, it's the process. And again, I wish it was super fast for every company, but there's various different reasons why companies go slower or go faster. And that's just a high level overview of what recruiting might look like if you're not familiar. So, thinking like a hiring manager, let's talk about competence. Let's talk about the things that they're looking for when we say competence. These are the skills and qualifications, your experience, and your education and training. Now, where do we learn this stuff? Brian, snails are passing by me. I know it feels like it, I'm sure. It's so hard when we're going in, when we're looking at jobs, and especially when we're looking at jobs and oftentimes we're sitting at home behind our computers and we're like, what the heck? I'm not hearing back from anybody. Is anybody out there? Hello. Is anybody ever going to respond to me? It can feel incredibly frustrating. And so I'm glad you guys are here today, because I do want you to know that people are out there and people do want to help you. So when a company is looking for your skills, the place that they're going to write those out and to tell you what they're looking for is the job description. That is the main place, obviously, where you can find what are the skills they're looking for. And hopefully you have heard, somebody has told you in the job search process that when you submit your resume online, that you need to update that resume to be a match to the job description. We're not telling you that to make you do more work. We're telling you that so the percentage of your resume getting through the system and being a match to the job goes up substantially. And so if I was writing a resume for this job description, I was submitting for it, I would make my title project manager and maybe even IT project manager, because it's the IT project company. I would make it similar or the same as the title of the role. And then I would update my accomplishments to be similar, or at least show that I have the capability to do the responsibilities they're asking for. And so you are not having to rewrite your whole resume every time, but you do need to take components of the job description and put it into your resume, because this is the first screen. This is how you're getting evaluated on your skill set and your competency. So it's really important that you do have your resume matching the job description. So there's a couple things you need to look at. Do you have the technical capabilities? Do you have the leadership style? And do you match those job requirements? The technical capabilities being, do you have the, are they requiring a specific software? Are they requiring expertise or knowledge of social media? Do you have to use a database? Like if you're in a customer support role, is there a database that they're looking at? All of that needs to be incorporated into your resume so it can get through the system. If there is anything technical on the job description, pull that out and put it on your resume and put it into an area where it's under an accomplishment. Like, what did you do with that? One of the biggest issues I see that people are really trying, you're really trying to do this, but what I see people do is they take the list of skills out of the job description and they just dump it on their resume under a section called skills. Well, the problem with that is, yes, it will give you a keyword match on the other side, on the recruiter side, but it doesn't tell them what you did with that skill. And so your resume will often get moved. They'll move on. So if you worked in a CRM database, then put that on your resume under one of your jobs as an accomplishment. Say what you did with that technology What did you do? Did you work in it every day? And did you manage, 500 customer records, or what did you do in the CRM? Put that on your resume. And then the leadership skills side. The leadership skills is, did you manage a team? Did you mentor somebody? Did you do training? What different ways did you step up? Did you lead a project? Did people come to you for various reasons? One of the biggest skills, so listen into this. One of the largest skills that companies are looking for this year is initiative. And to some people, it's like, oh, that's kind of, I don't know really what that word is. Initiative means you went and took care of things. You didn't go to your leader with problems constantly. Instead, you went to them and said, here's a problem, and I have some ideas on how we can solve this and some solutions. Are you the kind of person that took initiative on things? It's real interesting because I have recently had some volunteers step up and offer to run some programming and stuff for us. And it's phenomenal, the initiative they're taking. I had one lady come in recently, her name's Jessica also, and she came in and she's going through her master's program at ASU. And she said, as part of this program, I can volunteer for a nonprofit organization and actually get some course credit. So I would like to help you. Do you have a project I can do? And I was like, heck yeah, I do. And so I am working with her on a project. Well, we met the first time. I gave her an overview on the project. When we met the second time, she had the program laid out. We'd never done this before. This is a new program for us. She had the entire program laid out, a Google Doc put together with all of the events, the agendas, the speakers, everything, curriculum. She was meeting with our board member to make sure it was all correct and in there. She's working on updating or doing a website right now. She's reaching out to the speakers. She put a communication plan together. She put fundraising pages together because that's a part of the program. She did all this. That's called initiative. All I did was give her the overview of the program and the thought and the dream of where we wanted to head, and she took it from there. So are you somebody who can take initiative? That is a major leadership skill that is people are looking for, companies are looking for right now. And then, of course, looking at the job requirements, as I mentioned, that's where you get all this information. So do you have the ability to do the job? Let's see, question or Julie, what if you don't have actual numbers or stats on what you accomplished with the software? So numbers and stats are excellent for resumes. And I think the reason Julie's asking this is because someone's probably told her to put numbers on her resume. Numbers get eyeballs and get interest. So Julie, what I recommend to people, sometimes we can't go back and pull reports or we can't look at stuff. I always say ish, right? So you can give a number ish. I managed about 120 calls a day. I managed about, 32 clients in the database. And you can put those numbers in there. And then if they ask you in an interview, that's where you can explain what that is. It doesn't have to be 100% exact. You're not lying. You're not exaggerating, but you're thinking, oh, it was about this much. Because I do recommend as much as possible that you have numbers in your resume, because it kind of makes it feel like it's real. If you said, I worked in a database, well, what did you do in the database? How many people did you manage in there? Like, how many clients did you reach out to? How many candidates did you process? Whatever you did in the database, you can give an idea of a number. So that's why I recommend it. Okay, so that is the skills part. Let's talk about experience. One of the things you want to make sure you have on your resume, and I know this sounds obvious to many people, is all of your jobs. Not all of your jobs, the jobs from at least the last like 10-ish years or so. What you don't want to do is move your resume into what's called a functional resume and push your experience down to the bottom or the second page. Your experience is the highlight, is what the company is looking for. They want to know that the work you've done that the work they have that you can do. And how do they figure that out? Well, they know that anything you've done previously is a good marker for if you can do it in the future. So they want to know your experience, and they'll interview you and reach out to you if your experience matches enough, improves enough that you can do what they're asking. For example, if you are in accounting, you would obviously want to have all your jobs listed and your accomplishments around accounting. But let's say, and so that would tell us, hey, this is, in fact, let me give you an example of my friend that I worked with a couple years ago. She was in accounting. And so she had a really good resume put together, and it was all around her accounting experience. And I had asked her, okay, I had her take an assessment. I got the assessment back. I got her resume back. And I said, Julie, I'm looking at your resume, and it's like, your resume doesn't seem to be a match for your behavioral style. Now, it's not a one-on-one, but like your behavioral style is that you are outgoing, you like to be in large groups of people, that you like to do strategy. And your resume is all around accounting, which looks like for the last 20 years, you've been doing accounting, sitting in a cubicle, working on numbers, financial spreadsheets and stuff. And I said, that just doesn't, that seems off to me. And so it was so funny, you guys, because she like took a deep breath, and I was on the phone with her. I was not face to face, but I could hear it. And she goes, I hate accounting. I was like, whoa, okay. It was like confession. And I said, okay, Julie, tell me a little bit about that. What do you mean? Why have you been doing accounting for 20 years? My dad said it was a really good career. And so that's what I did in college. I was like, okay, I get that. I get that. So, Jewel, what we're going to do is, and I see your name, Julie, and I'm also like, this was my client, Julie. So, but Julie, what are we going to do about that? And she's like, I don't know. I go, okay, let's come up with some ideas. And I said, because the reality is you don't have to spend another 20 years in accounting. You can do something else. And it was almost like permission. I think oftentimes we get stuck in this box that we put ourselves in, and we get stuck. And when we're looking like, this is all I've done, this is what I do, this is what I'm good at, this is how I know. And also, I hate it. It's miserable for me. And so if you're feeling like that, then I need you to get out around some of your friends. I need you to talk to people. I need you to network, because you don't have to stay in the place you've been. You can do something different. So I said to her, Julie, what did you actually like about the job? Even if you hate your job, there were probably days that were okay, or you did something you liked, or what did you like? And she goes, there was some stuff I liked. What I actually liked was when I got to travel to different locations and different sites, and we would do these accounting software implementations. And she said, I would work with different teams to put the plan together, go in, oversee the implementation, make sure it was done right, checking the software, doing the testing. She goes, I actually really liked that. That was enjoyable. And I said, okay, that's kind of like managing projects or doing implementations. And why don't we write a resume and look for jobs along that path? She was like, that's a great idea. And so we did. We just made some modifications and then put together a job search strategy for her to go after that type of job. And she landed that type of job and was very happy in that role. And so that's what I'm encouraging you to take a look at. Your experience is essential, but it doesn't have to pigeonhole you. It doesn't have to put you in the box. You can really think outside of that and really focus and target on what you want to target on. So let me jump over here. So what I encourage you to do is, on your resume, you do want to have the list of experience, and that should be around 10 to 15-ish years. I wouldn't go much further than that. And you want to have under each job your accomplishments. And this should be out on your LinkedIn profile too. So it's not just your resume, but it is important that you have accomplishments under each job. Those can be full-time jobs, those can be contract jobs, part-time jobs, whatever you want to include in your resume. And then you want to make sure that you have really strong accomplishment statements under each. That is important. Now, if you have a gap in your work experience in any fashion, then have you done anything with volunteering? Have you picked up a side gig? What are some things you have done? Because I'm sure that most of us, even in our gaps, have not just done nothing. And so maybe you became a consultant and you worked with a couple companies or a couple friends, or you helped a church, or you helped a nonprofit, or you did something during that time. And the other thing is, you're allowed to put something in your resume for the gap if it's a longer gap than a couple months. If it's 6 months or longer, maybe you want to say caring for an ill whoever, family member, or staying home, taking care of kids, something like that. That is okay and good to put on your resume. And then if you have any internships or apprenticeships, anything like that, that is also great to put on your resume. All right, and then we don't want to forget education. Now, education is important, and also it's not as a 4-year degree is not as essential for many jobs as it used to be. So now, let's not get it mixed up. Education is fantastic. Education is encouraged. A degree is an amazing, wonderful thing. And also, it's not as required to get a really good job any longer. I don't know about you, we're all in different age demographics, but I can tell you when I was in high school, my parents pounded into me, you must go to school to get a good job. Like there's no other option. There's no other way. You must go. So I was a first generation college graduate in my family. And it was because I had to go to get a good job. That was the mentality. And here today, we're learning that many companies are taking away the degree requirement. And so students and all of us have a lot more options now. I was just at a career trade school, essentially. My youngest daughter is 16, and she has the option next year, as many juniors and seniors in high school do, to go to some type of trade school. And so if you have kids in your family that are young, that are in high school, you probably know this, but they can go to a trade school, usually supported by your education system in your state, and get some type of training. Now, that training can be an actual trade like plumbing, electrician, something like that, which, by the way, they make great money and have great careers. So do not discount that. If you have someone in your family that is hands-on and that wants to do that, those can make fantastic careers. Then they have things like, my daughter's going to go and be, esthetician. She's going to get this esthetician certification. So she's going to go to school for a year, and then she's going to get her massage therapy thing on top of that. So she's going to do that so that when she goes to college, she can use those things she's learned about facials and massage therapy and all this stuff to make money to run a business while she's in college. And so it's going to work hand in hand. And she can get all these certifications. So that's another option. And also, when I was there this couple weeks ago, as we were touring this place, there was 2 large companies, Boeing and Honeywell, 2 large companies that were on site that had put together a 2-year certification training program for these young people that as they graduated high school, they would leave with a certification and can go right into a company like Honeywell and Boeing. They were creating their own pipeline. And so they were for aerotech, so aerospace industry, advanced manufacturing, and one more. There were three, and they could go and take the trade school and be leaving with a $60,000-$70,000 job out of high school. That is really, really cool stuff. And Brian put this in the chat as well. And then the military option, they get so many different options when people go into the military to for schooling, for degrees, for a real education that's hands-on that can transfer as they're leaving the military. So there are so many options for not just our young people now that are coming out, but for all of us, because these various certifications, if you're moving into a different industry, if you want to try something else, you can tap into a certification that you can get many of them now online within a couple weeks, and they don't cost a lot of money. In fact, many of our states will help fund some of those certifications. So Arizona at Work Pinal County is sponsoring this program. If that's you, if you're a resident of Pinal County, that's an option. Arizona at Work at General, all through our state, has training funding dollars for various certifications. And many states will do the same thing outside of Arizona as well. And so that I'm going to write in the chat something called WIOA. That's called the Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act. And if you Google that and you do like WIOA Florida, you will get in Google, you will see where you go for to get the WIOA support. And so often they'll have training dollars associated for that. So don't be fearful of getting online and taking a certification or getting some training to learn something new, to do something different. Do not fear that, because it's really important as you're thinking about, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? Maybe it is certification and training. There's a whole new world out there with artificial intelligence and AI that is skyrocketing right now. And that industry is, I think the number, I might be just a little off, but I think the number I saw in a recent report that came out was by the end of 2027 AI is going to be $350 billion industry, $350 billion industry by 2027. It is growing so fast. And so if you're not familiar with AI, that is something that's so easy to get some training, and it is not difficult to understand, at least on the user end. I don't know about the back end side. I'm not a technical guru, an IT guru. So what I want you to do is think about, what is something I need to do to increase my competence in the area I am focusing on? So what I'd love for you to do is grab a piece of paper and a pen. I should have said this at the beginning, but grab a piece of paper and a pen, because here's what I know. If you write down something instead of either type it or just try to remember it, if you write something down, you're 70–80% more likely to remember it. So I would love for you to write this down. I want you to think about something that you need, a skill that you need to obtain or brush up on or do more of, an experience that you need to get, or a training or certification. What is a step you need to take to increase your skill set or experience or education? Rocio, so medical billing and coding, awesome. There's so many options there. In fact, I'm not sure if you're in Arizona, but if you're in Arizona, you can go down to one of the Arizona at Work offices and talk about how to get into that and how to get that funded. If you're not in Arizona, your workforce groups can assist you in that as well. So Maricopa County, yep, Maricopa County, both East Valley and West Valley have locations for you to go down there. You can call them, or you can just show up at their facility and they let them know what you're looking at, and that is definitely something that they would probably help you with. Okay, so write down one thing you need to do to take a step towards having all the competence you do need for moving forward. And that's a great example. Rocio just said she's going to check out Maricopa County to kind of see if she can get some help with medical billing and coding. That's a great step. What else? Anyone else want to write in the chat? Write in the chat one thing you're going to do to move forward in this area, there you want to go, what you want to do. And maybe you haven't defined that yet. Maybe you're not really sure yet. And that's okay. Take a step. Maybe you take a step to learn a new skill and then you're like, oh my gosh, that was terrible. I don't want to do that. Like my 18-year-old, she went to our trade school to be an EMT. And she was 6 weeks into the class and she goes, Mom, I hate blood. I'm like, okay, not the career for you. I'm glad you did it while you were in high school and you didn't go to a 4-year, try to do a 4-year degree in nursing school. So she decided, she pivoted. She's checking out other things right now. So, oh, Salesforce coding, that's such a good one. Great, get some training there. Coursera is so awesome, Kimberly. And so, yes, you can get on Coursera. I think there's so many courses on Coursera that are completely free. And then there's probably a paid version too, but I'm on Coursera and I grab some different things for free at no cost occasionally as well. So Coursera, that would be a great one, especially if you take some classes or some trainings that apply to what you're trying to do and how you're moving forward. AI, yes, me too. AI is a great one. Market research analyst, interesting. Jeffrey, I would do some searching and you could use ChatGPT to do this on what are some things you could do to gain the skill sets for market research. Really, really good one. Case managers. Oh, Robert, we need more case managers for sure. Good. Leadership skills, tons of training around leadership. You could start, Drew, you could even start going out on LinkedIn and writing some articles, making some posts, doing, maybe you sign up to speak about a leadership topic, and then you really dig in to learn the leadership topic. Because here's the thing, you guys, the way that people start to look at you as an expert is you start doing the thing. So when I launched Career Connectors, I started helping someone write a resume because I knew how to kind of put together a resume. But what I did was I jumped all in to learn about workforce, to learn about hiring, to learn about companies, to learn about what people were struggling with in the job search. So all the stuff I've learned, I didn't go to school for that. I went to school years and years ago, but I didn't go to school for this stuff. I just started learning it and I started talking about it. And then when you do that, you become the expert. So all the stuff I learned is out there for anybody to learn, for anybody to do. But I've been able to pull it all together and get it out in front of people. So that's what you need to do. Whatever that is for you, go figure that out and really become focused on it. Oh, a training certification, Timothy. Perfect. So I'm sure that's out there. There's a way to get that, and you might be able to even get support there. Okay. So that's competence. You have to have the competence to get your foot in the door. You have to, or they won't talk to you. So you have to have the competence to get your foot in the door and the competence for that particular job. If you're looking at a job description and you're going, I'm about 80%, then go for it. If you're more like, I'm a match for about 30%, then I would not waste your time. Because you want to be updating your resume and applying to jobs that you want and that are a match for you. Do not waste your times on things that you do not want. Because then you'll get way through the process and maybe you get an offer and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this job. That's really focusing on the jobs you want and the jobs you're matched for. Those will be the better results for you. Drew's asking a question in the chat about AI and tailoring your resume. 100% yes. 100% yes. In fact, I have some tips about AI in just a little bit, and one of them is tailoring your resume. So we'll get there. All right, character match. So we already did competence. Now we're going to talk character match. How do you know if you're a match for the company? How do you know if the company that I am applying for, I actually want to work there? I'm a match for them and they're a match for me. Well, let's talk about some ways you could do that. So there's lots of different traits. Lots of different traits. Here's a whole bunch of just examples of behavior traits. Okay. So do you want to work for a company that is, I just interviewed a candidate last night and he said, I am working for a company that, in fact, I help hire for a lot of church type jobs, ministry jobs. And he said, I'm working for a church that is super fast growing. And they actually have, when I started a year ago, they have one campus and now they're getting ready to launch their 4th campus. They're moving so fast that no one really knows what they're doing. So it's kind of a mess and it's really hard to keep up and it's like we're working 80 hours a week. And he goes, I don't want to do that. I want to work in a company or a church that is, growing, but that is, has a plan. So he knew exactly what he was looking for. And he didn't want to work for the super entrepreneurial, like fast moving, let's make everything super creative kind of place. He wanted a little bit more stability. And so what is your type of company that you want to work for? Think about, do you want to work for, a more stable environment that you're going to be doing the same thing pretty much every day? Do you want to work for something that's more fast moving? Think about the type of company you want to work for and the type that matches you, because that's the kind of company you want to target when you're going after a job. One of the ways you can learn that about yourself is taking any kind of assessment. If you guys want to drop in the chat, tell us about some of the assessments you've taken. So here's an example of a DISC assessment. And this is somebody who is entrepreneurial, usually outgoing, kind of entrepreneurial, likes to work with a lot of people, but it gives us an idea of who we are. And so it tells some descriptors of this person, the kind of environment they want to work with, and then the value to the organization. So this is one example of an assessment you can take, a behavioral assessment. If you've taken anything else, you can drop that in the chat. Some examples are strength finders, predictive index, of course, DISC. And the reason I'm showing you the DISC, one, I love it. I think it's really helpful, but also you can get it for free. And so I have a link I'm going to be sending to you guys after today that will have a link, and just click on it and you'll be able to take this assessment at no cost. We work with Target Training International to give you guys, they offer these at no cost to anyone who goes through any of the Career Connectors programs. And so that will be available. It'll be a 24-page report, and it will tell you all these things about yourself. You can pull this stuff into your resume. You can utilize these words. You can print it out and keep it. And if an employer asks you for any example or any assessments that you have, you can send this to them, because sometimes they will. Sometimes companies will ask. Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, absolutely. All of those are really good ones. All right, then let's talk soft skills, because are you a match with the company on the soft skills side? Again, this is a cultural match. And so let's think about this. Soft skills mean, do you have the type of soft professional skills, soft skills? We're kind of going away from the word soft skills. I keep hearing more professional skills, but these are the skills that aren't necessary. They're not technical, right? So they're, how do you get along with people? Initiative, that's a soft skill. That's a professional skill, one of the top ones. The other one that's not on here, that's a top one, that, mark my words, by the end of the year, this is what it will be, but is the ability to read information, data analysis. And so it sounds technical, but it's not. It's more of a, so I was sitting in a room with, there was 16 executives from across Arizona. We had myself as a nonprofit, and then the city of Phoenix was in there. And then the rest were from, we had the three large education institutions had executives in the room. And then we had, the rest were large employers in town, executives from large employers in town. So we're all sitting around and we're specifically talking about AI and how it's changing business, how it's changing workforce. And unanimously around that room, every single employer said the number one skill that they're going to be looking for is the ability to analyze data, the ability to read something coming from these AI tools and understanding it, but also not just understanding it, but knowing when it's not quite right. So I don't know, Brian, I didn't pay you to do this, but Brian queued this up. So there's a chat going on right now around Drew asking about, can I tailor my resume in AI? And I absolutely 100% you can. And Brian said, but don't take just what ChatGPT says, because make sure you review the results and make sure it's correct. And that is what I am talking about right there. The ability to read that data that comes out and go, oh, this is good, but this isn't quite right. It doesn't, for a resume example, it doesn't quite have exactly the accomplishment statement right, or it's a little, it exaggerated a little bit, or so you can either take what it says and edit it yourself, or you can respond to that, what it's told you, and you can say, hey, this isn't quite right. Can you fix it? And you can keep talking to it. It's like a friend. I feel like mine's a friend. I got to name her, but you can have this conversation until it gets it right. And so that's what the ability to analyze data, that's what that room of executives meant, because that's how much it's changing the game. And so if you just start messing with these tools and asking questions and putting information in, you'll start to get a feel for, okay, this information is right. And so that's a big soft skill, a big professional skill that they're going to be looking at over this year. It's going to really, really increase. So those two together, initiative and the ability to analyze data, as well as all of the ones you see on your screen. So if you feel like, hey, I'm really good at being able to work under pressure and time management, awesome. But I'm not that good at being decisive in making a decision and moving forward. How can you tune into that and try to move forward on that? And I'm not big on focus on the stuff you're not good at. I'm not big at that. I'm big at, what are you good at, and do that. But in the professional skills side, we really need to at least be sure we are decent at these areas. For example, you cannot have a really good job and be professional if you don't know how to communicate. So if you're not communicating well, if you're using, text type words in your emails, then you need some help there. We must be able to communicate. It is a requirement to work with a team and work with people. And so these skills are just not negotiable. We must have a piece of each of these. Okay, I love this one. This is a lot. This is a lot of information. Feel free to take a screenshot. But this one is an example of technical skills that companies are looking for and professional skills. And it gives a little bit of definition on each of these. But what I also think is, if you look on the technical skills side, there are some things over there where we may not think are technical skills. And you're like, oh, I have that. So for example, our financial modeling, do you know something? If you're in finance, do you know QuickBooks? Do you know any other systems? If you are, do you do social media? Do you look at analytics? Do you know what Google Analytics, what it is? Of course, the customer relation management tools, the point of sale systems that maybe some of you have worked on in retail. Have you helped work on a website? All of these count. Graphic design, what kind of design tools do you know? I've talked to audio and video people that run events. What audio systems and video systems do you know? All of those count. And then you can see on the professional side, lots of great skills there that, are important in the workforce that we need to understand and know. All right, so that's you, right? That's okay. This is the type of character. This is who I am. Let's talk about how you figure it out from a company side. How do I know if I would be a good fit at this company? So tune into what I'm going to say right now. If you're kind of like, going off a little bit, I want you to come back for a second. Listen to me. I want you to flip the job search a little bit if you're not doing this yet. I want you to make a shift. And I want you to, not right now, but after we're done, on a piece of paper or on your computer, whatever, I want you to make a list of 10 to 20 companies that you are targeting. If you have not yet done that, you need to do that. Make a list of 10 to 20 companies that you are targeting. And at the end of the day today, I have a challenge for you. So that I can do a shout out to you on LinkedIn. So 10 to 20 companies, I want you to make a list of 10 to 20 companies that you are interested in working in. So you're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to, find culturally some companies that are a match for you to be able to do that. And it's probably not as hard as you think. Once you start doing the research, things are going to come up. You can even put it into ChatGPT and you can ask, these are the type of companies I like. These are I want a large company in Tampa, Florida area. And I want, to be a project manager. I want a company that doesn't have a ton of hierarchy, that makes decisions kind of quickly. Like, you put all the traits in and you say, what recommendations do you have? And it will give you a list. And then you can start researching from there. And so one of the things you can do to learn about a company is on their website. There's a whole bunch of tips here on their website. You can go to the About Us section. You can learn about, who their board is, who their stakeholders are, what they do. Go to their careers page. And I'm specifically showing you this one because I know this company, but also I knew this about them before I looked, but I didn't realize this was on their website. So this company is basically a debt consolidation company, and they help people get out of debt. And they have helped over $1 billion. They've gotten rid of over $1 billion worth of debt for people. Most of us hear debt consolidation and we're like, oh my gosh, that does not sound good. That does not sound fun. I would never want to work for a company like that. I would never want to, I've gotten calls from collectors before and it's terrible, and I would never want to do anything like that. Okay, that's what most of us feel like. Well, with this company called Achieve, they are a debt collection company. And they help people do all kinds of things to get out of debt, right? So consolidation, they negotiate on behalf of the person that's in debt to get rid of debt, all this stuff. And when I went to their website, I was like, okay, their sales team is, they're hiring for sales, and their sales team are the people that are out there talking to people that call in that are in debt, and they're telling them all the options they have if they want to work with them, how do they get out of debt and all that stuff. So when I was like, okay, what kind of people are they hiring? I opened their website and this is on there: empathetic problem solvers wanted. I would never have imagined that a debt collection company wanted to hire an empathetic salesperson. It just would not have ever crossed my mind. That's not what you typically think of when you are thinking of somebody in sales and somebody at a debt collection company. But in fact, Achieve doesn't usually hire people that have a sales history. They are looking for empathetic people that know how to solve problems, because what they're doing is they are walking the path with somebody who is in debt, being empathetic, understanding what's going on in their life, and then trying to figure out how to help them best. That's who they're looking for. So that's why I encourage you, view the websites, understand the company. Do you want debt collection? Might not sound like the kind of company you want to work for. But what about a company that walks alongside people in debt and really gets them out of debt and helps them change their life? Like that might hit a little differently, right? Now, sure, they have negotiators, they hire negotiators, but the negotiators are negotiating with the the credit companies. And so they have all these different types of jobs. I actually know the HR executive here, and she has created this amazing culture. They've won Best Place to Work over and over and over again. And they are just doing great things in our community. I live in Arizona. So they have a great culture. So that you want to look at their website. Does that sound like something you would want to, someone you would want to work for? And also, how about their social media? Take a look at their socials to see, is this a company that's doing things that I like, that I'm interested in, that have a purpose, that means something? So YouTube is an excellent place to go to find videos, employee videos, company videos, a whole bunch of different things. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all really great places to look. TikTok, tons on TikTok now. And so this is, look at social medias, follow them, engage with them if it's a company you want to work for, especially if it's a company that is on your list of 10 to 20. And then, of course, you have the job boards. The job boards are another great place to look to see if you can find companies that are in your focus, in your target, and maybe they're not on your list. The hard part about job boards, and this is, I struggle talking about job boards and teaching people to use job boards, because when we get laid off or when we're in job search, most of us, including myself, when it happened to me in 2007, most of us go right to Indeed or Monster or Jobbing or, you know, one of the big ones, and we open it up and we type in what we did, project manager, training and development, whatever it is, and we search for jobs, and then we just start applying. Fast apply, fast apply, fast apply, fast apply. Same resume, push the button, and it goes in. And that is absolutely the worst way we could ever apply for a job. And so that takes no effort, no research. You have no idea what kind of company it is, likely. And you're using the same resume. We're not matching. It's just, and the response rate is likely very, very low to your applications. But what you can do for what is good with the job boards is the research component. And I prefer that you all use a job board that is more niche to what you're looking for. And what I mean by that is, if you are in technology, then go find the technology job boards. If you are in finance, then go find the finance job boards. People that are in ministry that I hire for, go find the ministry job boards, like church staffing, ministry jobs. Like what is your niche? And then what I want you to do is go to Google or ChatGPT and put in your industry, like finance or accounting or payroll or whatever it is, whatever your thing is, put in your industry or job type, and then put job board. So it could be accounting job boards, could be software development job boards, could be project management job boards, because most industries have multiple niche job boards, and companies a lot of times will use those over the big ones, because the big ones are just, there's so much, it's hard. And a lot of times the jobs out there on the big job boards are not active. They're old. Some of these job boards are what are called crawlers. And so they're finding all the jobs out there and they're posting them on their site, and they're not even legit jobs. So go to these niche job boards and you can do a lot better research. All right, so now we talked about the character traits. So back to your paper. So far you have written down maybe something you need to do to become a little stronger on the competence side. Now I want you to write down something that you need to do to see it, find a character trait, find a match with a company. Maybe you need to do your DISC. Maybe you need to really figure out what soft skill that you need to focus on a little bit. Maybe you need to do research and you need to make your list of 10 to 20 companies and then start following them on social media accounts. Maybe you need to go review Glassdoor and see if the company that you're interested in is what kind of rating they have on Glassdoor. Maybe you need to go find some job boards. So what I would love for you to do is write it down on your paper and then put it in a chat. What is one thing you can do to start to really hone in culturally that you are on the character side, the behavior side, if you're a match for a company? And then drop it in the chat. Let us know. This we don't share the slides, but we do the question in the chat. We don't share the slides, but we share the webinar. So you can this will be posted later today, and we'll send the link out to you guys, and then you can watch this webinar. You can fast forward it, you can pause it, you can do whatever you want out on YouTube. So that'll be available. All right, leadership, great. What else? What else are some of the things that you guys that you want to do? Do you want to take your disc? Do you want to go follow some company social media accounts? I want you to really hone in on this because not enough people take the step. Not enough people take the step to either go get, the competence side to get some of that shored up. Not enough people take the step to really understand how important this is. If you want a job that you like and that you're a fit for, find the companies that are a match for you. When you walk into that interview, when they ask you, why do you want to work there? You're going to be like, let me give you the list of reasons. And you're going to sell yourself without having to come up with an elevator pitch to sell yourself. You're going to authentically be you and say, well, I've been following your social media accounts for 3 months, been engaging with you guys. I love what you're doing here and here and here. I know that you're an entrepreneurial company and I talk fast, I work fast, I love how you make decisions. Like it's just going to pour out of you. It's not going to be a scripted elevator pitch. Good mission statements for sure. Love that. Yes, companies that do stuff in our communities. And so much of that can be found on social media and what they're doing out there. Awesome. Okay, so we talked about competence. We talked about character. Now we're going to talk about chemistry. Why is this a thing? Why does chemistry matter? Why does it matter? It matters because we spend more time often with the people we work with than we do our family, than we do our friends. If you're spending more time with your work family than you are your outside or your real family, your work friends, than your outside friends, then you better like them, because people hire people they like. People hire people they like. It's just how it is. If you walk into an interview and all of a sudden you just feel like, oh my gosh, they're just staring at me and I'm uncomfortable and it feels awkward and weird. Like, is that the environment you want to walk into? Is that the kind of place you want to work? Right? So when you go into the interview, that is the place where you find out if you can connect with these people. And so often I get messages and I hear things like, I've been on a ton of interviews. I'm a great fit for this job. I don't know why they didn't hire me. They told me I came in second. Like all these things. And people aren't getting the jobs. Something is off with the interview. If you're getting interviews, but you're not getting jobs, then something is off with the interview. And you really need to take a look at that. What is it? What is off? One, have you done the research? Do you really want to work at these companies? Because if you walk in and you don't know much about them, if you walk in and you're like, I don't know, I'm just going to go on the interview for practice, like that all comes through the interview. Recently I had a candidate say to me, so who are you and what do they do? I'm like, okay, we can wrap this interview up. You obviously don't want to work here. So they know it comes across. If you're excited about the company, let's put it into this, put this idea in your mind. Think about a company you want to work for right now. And maybe you can drop it in the chat because then we can see if we have any connections for you. But drop in the chat a company you want to work for that you're like, I would love to work for them. Does anyone have any companies you would love to work for? Like, yes, for sure. Jackson Healthcare, NetApp, Honor Health, great. I don't know Jackson Healthcare or NetApp. I know Honor Health, great company. But like, let's see. Parisa, what if Jackson Healthcare called you right now? Right now, you're sitting in this training and you look over and your phone rings and Jackson Healthcare is calling you. I bet you, with everything I have, that you would pause this call, you would mute it, and you would pick that call up and you would answer it and be so excited. Yeah, yes, I would. Yes, because you're like, oh my gosh. Or Brian, if Honeywell calls you, you're like, I gotta go. I gotta pick up this call, right? Or Drew, if Honeywell calls you, or Stacia, if Honor Health or NAP, if those companies call you, you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta take this call. If I'm sitting at dinner with my family and somebody calls, a company calls that I've been waiting on, or I've been desiring to work for, I'm picking that call up. And you do not have to have a Asta, y'all. Exactly. Like, I'm picking that call up. And you don't have to have an elevator pitch together. You don't have to have anything ready to go because you're like, I am so excited you called. I thank you for calling me. Do I want an interview? Heck yeah, I want an interview. Can we do it now? Like, you are ready to go. You're not awkward. You might be nervous, but you're not awkward. You're like, I know about you guys, and man, can I make an impact there? That's how I want you to be in every interview you do. And every time you walk into a room. If you're walking into an interview and you're going, I'm just doing this for practice, that's going to totally come across. And I get it. I'm not against doing something for practice. I'm not. You can do that, but know that it's going to come across to them. So I want you, when you get in front of an employer, I want you to be excited about that opportunity, and it will just come out of you. All right? You can have all the tips in the world around how to interview. And there are some really good ones. I'm going to give you a couple, but there's some really good ones. But that connection, that likability factor is you can't trump it. There's nothing you can do to make the connection better than be happy to be there and be able to talk to them about their company and how you can make an impact in their company. They want to hire someone who's going to make an impact in your company. I'm going to be hiring soon an event director. And you can bet if that person has not done research on career connectors, and doesn't know what we do in the community, they don't really care about the job, I am not even finishing the interview. I'm not even going 5 minutes into the interview because I built this organization with blood, sweat, and tears, literally. And if they don't want to work there, I don't want them there, right? So somebody that has initiative and wants to serve the community the way we're serving the community, or for a company, make the products that we make, do the things we do, and care about that, that's who you want to hire. And that's what you need to see in the interview. And so here are some of the things you can do. Oh, I want to tell you guys this one. This is one of my favorite things. Somebody asked about a video interview. And let me see. So I wanted to address that. How do you come across? I don't remember where the question was, but there was something about a video interview. And I want to give you a tip on video interviews real quick. There is still a way to make a connection on a video interview. And I want to tell you about this guy, and I can't remember his name, but I was doing some coaching with him, or we were talking at one of our events. We were talking in offline, and he said, so I had this interview and I went and looked up the name of the guy on LinkedIn. I went and connected with the guy that was interviewing me on LinkedIn. And one of the things I noticed was that he was a Big Ten football guy. And he goes, and I'm a Big Ten football guy. And so if you're a Big Ten or an SEC, or if you're a college football person, we can, I'm a Big Ten girl. Like, we can get crazy about our football. And so he goes, he's a Big Ten guy. I'm a Big Ten guy, but he's a different Big Ten guy than I. And I wish I had written this story down to get it exactly right, but it was like Indiana and Purdue. And so it was two different teams. And his team was Indiana, and the guy's team was Purdue. And so what he did, he happened to have this picture in his house of the Indiana football stadium and playing, but they were playing Purdue, or whoever the guy's team was. I think it was Purdue. So Indiana and Purdue were playing each other, and his team, Indiana, won that game. So he has this picture, and he puts it up behind his Zoom call. He puts it up, the picture back here. And so he has it hanging, just like these two pictures I have. It has this picture hanging of this Big Ten game. And so he gets onto the call, and the guy doesn't even say hi to him. He immediately sees the picture, because he's a Big Ten football guy. Like, that's just what you do. He sees the picture and he starts cracking up, and he's like, that's a good one. And so their interview started with a connection, and they had this whole conversation about football before the interview ever even started. So how can you create a chemistry? You don't have to do something that dramatic, but if you go out to their LinkedIn profile and do some researching on who you're interviewing with, you can probably find some commonalities. In my networking events that I do, either keynote talks or workshops, I give people 2 minutes to go find one person and they can find a commonality with. 2 minutes, that's all they get. 2 minutes, go find somebody you've never met before and find something you have in common. And that can be, where you're from, the kind of food you like, travel. It can be anything. But the commonality is how we connect. So it's an easy way to connect with people. That's what I encourage you to do as you're interviewing. Go into it maybe already knowing some stuff about people. So these are some of the tips that you can do going into the interview. Make sure, of course, you have your resume. You have your resume, know your resume, bring copies of your resume into the room. Make sure that you have your notes, and I'm going to talk about this in just a second. Make sure that you do have a good first impression. And if you have that thing called smiling bummer face, you all know what I'm talking about. You know that about yourself. And so you do need to try to at least smile a little bit when you walk into these meetings. Because oftentimes if somebody has that kind of faith as normal, it doesn't seem approachable, but you want to be approachable in these meetings, in these interviews. Engage with everybody there. If you're walking into an in-person interview, engage with the person that greets you. Maybe it's not the hiring manager. Maybe it's a receptionist or somebody else, a recruiter. Somebody is meeting you. Engage with them. And then you're going to want to follow up and connect on LinkedIn. So when you're walking in, you want to have that good handshake, that great smile. If they start asking you about, hey, how was your drive here? Where do you live? What area of town? Whatever the small talk is, you can mimic that. You can mirror that and say, oh, I'm from Chandler. Where do you live? Oh, I'm from this city. Where do you live? How long does it take you to get to work? Like, having that small talk, if they start it, absolutely. If they go right into the interview questions or right into explaining the job, then you don't want to belabor that. You don't want to continue trying to go into small talk. And that's what I mean by mirror their initial response. That is creating the likability factor. Okay. Some companies, some people, some interviewers like to have small talk. They like to get to know you a little bit. My husband is a therapist, a counselor. And so when we go places, he's interviewing admins right now. when he's doing interviews, he's going to ask questions about them and their life and their family and whatever, because that's how he is. He wants to know. When I'm interviewing, I have 30-minute slots back to back to back to back. I don't do small talk. I'm not good at it. I don't do it very well. So listen, I've got to take my own pointers. The ones I'm telling you guys, I have to take those. But I do these interviews back to back to back to back. I welcome the person to the phone call and I dive in. I start telling about the job and then I ask the first question. So the people that try to belabor the interview with going into small talk, for somebody like me that just dives in, it's annoying. But to somebody like my husband, who's a therapist, if they don't answer those questions, he feels like they're not trustworthy. So it really depends on who is interviewing you. Neither way is wrong. It's just different. All right. So that's what I mean there. And so then as far as the interview questions go themselves, and I'm not going to go into this deeply because again, it's not a deep dive. It's an overview on job search essentials. But what I want you to really think through is the way you interview should not be going into the interview with 100 questions and you have the answers memorized. That's really not a good way to go into an interview. When you go into an interview like that, oftentimes you're trying to remember what you memorized instead of making the connection and telling your story. And so what you want to do instead is come in on maybe a piece of paper, a notepad, come in with a list of like 10 stories, accomplishments that you have done in your work life. So that when they do ask you a question, an interview question, you can just glance down at your list and go, oh, this story applies to that answer. So let me give you an example. If you have run a project at work, if you've solved a problem at work, think of something. Think of a problem you've solved at work or a project you oversaw or an event that you ran. Think of something you've done at work. And you write that down on your piece of paper. And you write down, ran this event for 45 people. It was a team builder and it was something we do every year. Tell us, and so think through that whole story, that whole example. What did you do? How did you accomplish it? What did you accomplish? Did you stay under budget? So you would think through that whole project. And then on your piece of paper, you would just write down that maybe a one line about the event, the team builder event you ran at work. Okay, so you have 10 of those examples on there. Great. So 10 of those examples. And then when you walk into the interview and they say, hey, we all have to have hard conversations sometimes. Think about a time you had to have a hard conversation at work. And you look down at your list and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember at that event, we had this one employee that wasn't fulfilling their requirements for the event. They were supposed to do all the food ordering, work with the vendors, and they weren't doing their job. And so I was having to step in. Okay, so you're like, okay, I remember that. So then you tell that story. And you're like, I was overseeing this event team and we were bringing people in from different areas. I had one person on my team that was over all the vendors. And when we went to do the weekly check-ins, they were not getting a hold of the vendors. They weren't finding the vendors. And so I had to have a separate conversation with them. I asked them to have a one-on-one meeting. And we did it over Zoom. And I just said, hey, how you doing? I, built some rapport with them. I realized I hadn't done enough rapport building with them. I didn't know them, so I hadn't done enough of that. And so I just spent some time with them and I said, hey, we have a couple of deliverables here that you haven't done yet. Can you talk to me about that? And then I listened to what they said. They had some personal stuff going on. So we set some deadlines and new dates and got clarification. And then she went off and she accomplished it. And we were able to get the vendors on at the right price. And they showed up and it was an excellent event. So that story that I had prepped, not even knowing what my interview questions were, answered a question. And that's how it works. That's how it works. And so I have an interview workshop coming up, I think in a couple weeks. I'll talk about it at the end here. And we go into developing those stories. You can use a STAR model. And if you aren't familiar with the STAR model, you can look that up. But, or the PAR model, I like that better. Problem, action, result. Or STAR model is situation, task, action, result. There's also something that I teach called golden moments. You can use those. Those are 3 kinds of ways you can come up with these stories. But go in with a list of stories. And yes, you can bring a notepad into an interview. Bring your notepad in so you can take notes, but that you have just 10 line items of stories you can tell, of things you've accomplished in your career that you want to talk about. And so you're going to have all those type of questions you're going to have. And then here are a couple you're going to have. Tell me about yourself. And so that's a short kind of response, a little bit about your career and how you've made an impact in the latest company, a little bit about your strengths and weaknesses, and always on the weaknesses side, make sure you do have an answer there, and also what you've learned about yourself and how you make sure that in that area you're covered. So maybe it's that you're not good at details. I don't have a real big strength in details. And so I make sure that before I send something out, I just get it proofed, or I run it through a system like Grammarly, which is an AI system, or something. You run it through something. Why are you interested in this position? That will always come up, and that goes right with why we should hire you. But with those 2, here's the thing. With those 2 questions, if you've done the research, then, and you are excited, you picked up that call from Honeywell and they say, why do you want to work here? And you're like, oh, let me tell you why. I've got the reasons. And that just flows. That does not come from some scripted answer. That comes because you know the company, you have contacts there, or you like what they do, or you love how they serve the community, or you have a connection to them somehow. That will just flow from you. So those are some example on some interview questions. And then here are some questions you can ask. It's just some sample questions you might be able to ask that I like. But the reality is, you can ask questions during the interview while they're interviewing you. If they ask about something maybe around culture or leadership, you can then make your answer, and you can also ask, hey, what is the leadership style of this company? This is what I saw online. Is that, what it's like here? Like, you can have a conversation. You don't have to wait to the end to ask your 5 questions. You can have a conversation during the call or during the interview. And often that goes way better than trying to wait to the end and asking your 5 questions that are already, that look scripted. So try to have the conversation. Now, I want to touch on references, because with references, if you don't have these prepped already, I want you to get them prepped right away. So you want to get 2 from each of these areas. So a total of 8, some of you maybe 6. So anybody that a leader you've had, somebody you've reported to, you want 2 of those. You want a peer, somebody you've worked alongside of. If you've managed people, you want 2 from people you've managed that can talk about your leadership style. And then personally, you want 2. So 6 to 8 references that are queued up. And what I want you to queue up your references, and in that, get their information written down, get on a piece of paper, on a file, so that when a company asks for the references, you have them. You can send them. You don't have to go get them and go get approval and take another couple of days. You have them, you send them to them. And then what you do is you reach out to the people that you sent the references. So let's say they asked for 3 references. one leader, one colleague, and one personal. Then you just look for the right ones, like who would be the best match for me to refer for this job. And so then you contact those people and say, hey, I just sent your reference information over to this company. This is the job I'm applying for. And I would love for you to talk about this. So give them, whoever is doing your references, give them some information to work with. I've had reference calls before when I had no idea. I have no idea. I barely knew the person that had gave my name. And I was like, oh, you know what? I got to be honest. I don't really know that person, or I barely know them, or I don't feel comfortable doing a reference. Like, cue your people up, because that is part of the chemistry validation. That's like the last part. That's the last part of you getting in the door. I've seen a lot of people not get a job because of references. And granted, legally, the only thing a company is allowed to ask for are a couple things, right? Did you work here and how long, or things like that. And that is maybe the HR thing, the answer. But what ends up happening is they'll ask a question, did they work here? And then that person that's answering the reference will start talking about them. Or if you've given them the reference, sometimes that's the permission to ask more questions. And so cue them up. Make sure they actually want to be a reference, and they're going to say good things about you. So that's the last part on the chemistry match. That's how they're validating you are who you say you are. So I'm going to look through the questions right now before we jump into some of the tools. Is there any questions on the character, the competence, the character, or the chemistry match? References should include the name of the person, the company or title in which you worked with them, their cell phone number, preferably, because that's probably what they'll answer, and an email address. Those are the best. Those are kind of the things you want to include on a reference. And so that's that. Yes, thank you everyone for dropping in your LinkedIn URL. Keep doing that, and please be connecting with each other as you're doing it. All right, yeah, anyone that has more questions on these interview ones, we'll go into more stuff next time. All right, thank you for your boss is placed in a company. There's a question around here. How do we maneuver when your boss is placed in the company by superiors and you don't have a chemistry match? Chemistry matches are really, really difficult because it's not something that's probably going to change. I had this wonderful client. I worked for them for 10 years. And then they brought in a new executive. And he and I did not jive. And I did not like the way he did business. He didn't like the way I did business. It did not go well. And so I was like, as much as I loved that client for 10 years, I met with the CEO and said, hey, I'm going to transition out. And here are just a couple things I want you guys to know. And I, was honest and shared my thoughts and transitioned out, and which was great. I needed to. And I picked up a couple other clients, and, that are a better match. And that was hard because to me, a client it's a job, but it's also, I just fall in love with my clients. I love them and I want to serve them so well. And, but it wasn't a match, and I wasn't going to keep trying to make it a match. There was just no way. There was no way. That executive was fired 6 months after I left. So there were like some real issues going on there that the CEO wasn't seeing until, they became obviously apparent. And so it's really hard if you don't have a chemistry match to stay at a company. So my recommendation is, I don't know your story. But it's probably time to at least get your feelers out there, start hitting up your network, start talking to people to see what is available. The world is so different now. I know many of us, when we walked into our first job, if you're a similar age to me, then I walked in when I was 24 to Intel, and I was like, I am retiring here. Well, 10 years later, Intel said, no, you're not. We're laying off your entire department. And so I was like, oh, okay, what now? And that is the way of the world now. Is not that way. People don't often walk into a company on day one and say, I'm retiring here when they're 24 years old. And so we have options, and it is normal for people to move jobs. Okay, great. So I didn't get all the questions, but I got some of them. Franklin had asked, you guys don't see this, it's in a direct message, but when do we do references? Do not give references until they ask for them. When they ask for them, they may tell you exactly what kind of references they want. So just wait to give references. Okay, now moving on to the last section, and we're going to talk about some of the tools now. So we dove into a little bit about what the workforce looks like. We talked about what it's like to be a hiring manager and how you adapt to the different jobs and how you become the right cultural match for them. Now let's talk about some tips on the various different tools that you're going to use. First of all, if you are not sure what you're even doing right now, where you're even going, where you want to go, what kind of career do you want, what kind of job am I looking for? If you're not sure, then do some research. Do some research. So if you are in Pinal County, that's a link you're going to want. If you're in Arizona, that's a link you can use. Everybody can use the bottom two. ONET, it's a little hard, a little difficult to follow in my opinion, but Pipeline AZ, it was built in Arizona. It was originally intended for Arizona, but this site from a career mapping standpoint is really good and can help anybody. All of these links will be in your follow-up email you're going to get. And so here are some places you can go to look to see who's hiring, what career map, different options, what's out there, what's available. I just saw a story on LinkedIn today by a gal, and she's been looking for, I think she said 6 months, and she has been trying to find a job, and it hasn't been landing. It hasn't been hitting. She's gotten really frustrated. And so what she said is, I need to change the narrative. I need to get out of my head. I know I am valuable. I know stuff. I know I'm a great employee, but I need to get out of my head. And so as what I'm doing is I'm giving up the job search for a little while. And instead she's been volunteering with the National Speakers Association. And what she's going to do instead is she is going to help speakers land speaking gigs, because she's been doing it for free as a volunteer with the NSA, National Speakers Association. But now she has a process, she knows how to do it, she enjoys it, and she is good at it. And she's like, I'm going to take this volunteer thing I'm doing and actually now offer it to speakers in general to help get them booked into conferences. And it's a need, and it's something she's good at. So she said, I got to get out of my head. I got to stop applying for jobs and putting my worth on somebody else, and I'm taking control of it and doing it on my own. So if you're in a place like that, if you're in a place where you're going, why am I not landing? And do I need to do something on my own? At least for now, do I need to consult? Do I need to do something to make an impact this way? It's an option. It is an option. And so think through, and that's the option that when I left corporate America, and got laid off, I'm like, okay, I have babies. I want to be home more often. I want flexibility. I want to be able to show up to all the stuff. And I don't want to put them, in their daycare 9 hours, 10 hours a day. Instead, I can put them in maybe 2 or 3 hours at a home daycare and then be home the rest of the time. So what does that look like for me? So that's what I want you to do. When you're creating your vision for where you want to go, you're putting down your priorities, your values. Now that my kids are 16, 18, and 26, so one's out, 2 are, getting closer, they're all independent, have cars, they're barely home. I sat down to dinner with the family the other night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a gift to be able to sit and everyone's in the house at the same time. So I don't have the restrictions that I used to have. So my priorities have changed. I now can travel. I can do speaking gigs. I can do conferences and keynotes. I can go all over because I don't need to be, home all the time like I used to be. So take that assessment. Where are you in life? What kind of role? Do you need a very stable, consistent job that doesn't change much that you can depend on? And you need to work 8 to 5. Perfect. Then that's what you need to go look for. So really setting do your own self-assessment and really set out what is most important to you right now in the season you're in right now. And then create that plan. Use the tools, create the plan for how do you go find that job? Do you need more resources? Do you need to do some training? Like Rocio said, she wants to become a medical biller. Well, that requires some training. Is there a mentor out there, somebody you can talk to? And then once you start figuring it out, start telling people. Start telling people, this is what I want to do. These are maybe some companies I'm looking at. What are your thoughts? Start telling the story, because the more you're telling people, the more conversation you're having, things start to happen. It's such a different way to think about job searching and landing your career. To get control of it, identify it, create kind of what you want, and then go after it instead of depending on a company to respond to you. Really go after it, and you have to network into it. So first of all is the resume, or second is the resume. So once you, now that you've done some career mapping, you've figured out what you want to do, I'm going to give you some resume guidelines. Now, again, this is not the deep dive. This is just some high level things, what people ask the most on. Let's talk mechanics. So the font size and type. We want you guys using about a 12 font size, 10 to 12, but 11 to 12 is good because that's readable to our eyes. And the type is, stick with something basic like Arial or Calibri. And I'm going to write them in the chat so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Calibri, Arial, and font size 10 to 12. Whoops, 10 to 12. So those are the ones you want to stay away from. Any font that has feet. So sans serif, anything with serif, and they have little feet. You might not even realize it, but they're really hard to read. And even applicant tracking software has a hard time reading that sometimes. So stick with the basics. Don't try to be fancy. Calibri, Arial, some people even use Times New Roman, but font size 10 to 12. Don't make it too small, size 8, because you're all trying to fit it on one page. Not what we do. Length, it can be 1 page, 2 page. If you feel like you have to write, if you're applying for like a medical position or law, then you might need to go into a 3rd because you're doing a CV. But most of us are going to go 1 to 2 pages. Is great. And you want to make sure it is in chronological order. Forget the other kinds of resumes. Companies want your chronological. And what that means is you have your current or most recent company at the top, and then your next company under that, and then your next company under that. All right, so that's chronological order. You don't want to try to hide your companies. If there is a gap, state it. Put the time frame that is the gap and the reason why. Caring for parents, caring for children, whatever it is, that's fine. Just put it on there. You don't need to put like a layoff or something like that. You can even put a volunteer position in there. I've seen people say, I'm getting my master's degree, things like that, whatever it is. So that's what that is. And then think about the audience you're writing this for. Remember, you're updating every resume for the job, with the job description. And so if you're writing it, most of us are going to be writing our resume for an applicant tracking software. And that's, all of us have probably applied to that, and you may not even know it. If you've applied for a job online, your resume is going into an ATS. So that ATS reads your resume, and then it tells the recruiter if it's a match or not. And that is based on how you've updated your resume to match the job description. So that's how you want to write it. You want to write it for the applicant tracking software. That's why we don't get fancy, right? We don't do a whole bunch of bolding and underlining, and we don't get fancy. Okay, just the basics. Now you can edit it and make it look even nicer, especially if you are sending it, emailing it to people. So you can have that version that goes out to people through email, and that's a little bit better representation of you. So that is, those are some important pieces. The components here. Your contact information. One of the biggest tips I ever got on resumes, and this comes from the resume writers that we work with. They're professionals, they're certified and trained. One of the best information I got from resume writers once was, your contact information should not be in the header of the Word document. When you pull a Word document down, when you get onto Word and you say you look for a resume template, oftentimes the resume template will have you put your contact name inside of the header of the Word document. You can tell if your contact information is in the header, because if you have to double click to get into it and edit it, your information's in the header. Take it out of the header, put it at the top of the page, but not in the header. So there's a difference. Not in the header, because the header, oftentimes when it is submitted into the applicant tracking software, it is, the applicant tracking software can't read it. It's in the header. So your information goes over without all the contact information. So if you're filling out an applicant tracking software and you've submitted your resume and it's still asking you for your name, your email, your phone number, it's very possible your contact information is in the header. So get it out of the header. Your title and headline should match the job description title and headline. And I mentioned that earlier, and also the work experience. The work experience should be in chronological order. And lastly, the skills. Go over to the job description and make sure the skills that they talk about are in your resume. And they're in your resume through an accomplishment statement. Maybe it's in your summary, but you've done something with that skill, not that you have it. That's great that you have it, but prove to them you have it. What have you done with that skill? So I want you to make sure your resume is updated in that way. Target keywords. And this is a little bit where AI comes into play, you guys. So with a lot of applications are rejected because either the formatting or you don't have the keywords. Many resumes are just rejected. So if you can take a job description, copy it, and put it into an AI tool like ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, what are the best keywords, or what are the keywords in this job description, or what are 10 keywords in this job description? ChatGPT will give you an answer, and then you can use those keywords and make sure they're incorporated into your resume. In fact, you can copy your resume and you can then say to ChatGPT, how can I incorporate those keywords into my resume? And it will give you some recommendations. Now, you want to be sure you actually read through what it's given you and not just copy and paste it, because sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes it's like, oh, that's not quite right. So you really want to make sure that you're reading the information that comes out. Let's see if I have, whoops, sorry about that. I'm trying to see if I can go live on ChatGPT real quick because I want to show you guys. Let's get this back. I want to show you guys how to actually do this. And I don't have this built into the talk because sometimes this is a high level overview and I just don't want to get too in the weeds, but I'm going to go ahead and share my other screen. And let's see, whoops, this is the one. Okay, and now I'm going to share my other screen. So hang on one sec so I can show you guys this. So here is ChatGPT. Super simple. If you use any kind of AI tool, browser, will you drop it in the chat so we know that what you guys are using? But this is ChatGPT, super simple. And it basically says, what can I help you with? That's the whole thing. That's it. So you just answer that question. And so I'm going to ask it to bring up a job description for a project manager at Honeywell, because a couple of you mentioned Honeywell. So here is an example of a general project manager at Honeywell. Okay, this is just some key responsibilities. Then I'm going to ask it what somebody has one here. Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you, Brian. So what are the top 10 keywords in this job description? So then ChatGPT is going to think about it and it should respond with the top 10 keywords. Let's see what. Yes, thank you. So what Brian just dropped in the chat, I would encourage you to take a screenshot of that because that's exactly right. Once we do this, you can take your resume and copy it and drop it in here and ask it to update it. So look at this. It's telling us this is how many times each of these keywords happened in that job description. And then what I would do if I was applying for a job, so of course this is a generic job description, but I would encourage you to go out, take a job description you want to apply for and dump that in here and say, what are the top 10 keywords? And now what I would do is grab my resume and copy and paste it in here and say something like, incorporate those keywords into my resume. I don't think ChatGPT has my resume, so it might not, it won't. Let's see what it does. So, okay, so it's giving you a template here of what to do. I actually wouldn't take this resume because that's not custom to you, but it's kind of giving an overview of what a resume might look like. So that's how you do it. That's how you can customize your resume for each job by doing this. It's simple, it's easy, and it's a required skill that's coming. It's here already. Many companies are saying we need to have people that know how to do this. We need to have people that understand how to read when something comes out of an AI tool, how to read it. So these are some of the things you can do with AI. All right, now I'm going to switch back to the other screen. Okay, and here we go. So that's how you do the keywords. To create your accomplishment statements, you can think through the challenge or the problem, the action, and the result. The accomplishment statements are what are on your resume under your work experience. Okay, they're under your work experience and it tells what you actually did for that company. It has numbers, if possible, integrated into it in some capacity. It maybe you made money for the company, or you saved money, or you increased productivity, or you had happy customers, or you did customer surveys. Okay, that is the part that really sticks out, the result. What did you do for that company? What did you do for the companies you've worked for? That is your accomplishment statement. That is what I want you to make sure you incorporate on your resume. Okay, good point, Brian. Yes, you can absolutely upload documents to ChatGPT or the other tools you're using. It's not perfect by any means, but it definitely it does work. And so it may not grab the formatting right, or it may read something wrong, but you can absolutely upload documents. And so for that example we used on the job description, you can upload the job description, you can upload your resume, and you can say, incorporate the main keywords into my resume, and it will do that. And oftentimes it will format it correctly. And then you can say, can you please download this to a Word document? And it will do that. And then you can use that Word document. So once you start playing with it, you'll notice how strong it is of a support tool for you. Okay, so that is a little bit on AI and keywords. Let's talk about networking. Networking. This is so important. When we get laid off, as I mentioned earlier, oftentimes we jump on the job boards, try to pull together a quick resume, jump on the job boards, and just start applying. But the reality is, most good jobs, when someone's hiring for a good job, they're thinking about, who do I know would be a good fit here? And I want you to land in the who do I know? And they're like, oh, I thought of this person. Oh, I know this person. Or if that hiring manager doesn't know anyone, they're asking people, hey, who do you know? Who do you know? Have any of you ever worked for a company that offered an employee referral bonus? So an employee referral bonus is such a great way to refer your friends in. Yes, when I was a single mom, my second income was referring my friends in to Intel. I had just finished up my master's degree, and I had all these friends that I had met at school, and I was referring them like crazy. It was a second income. I needed it. And so I got all these people referred, and it was like $1,000 or $2,000. Sometimes it's 500, sometimes it's 200, sometimes it's 5,000. So referrals are the way to go. Referrals cost a company less money. Referrals stay longer, and they show up. They show up to the interviews. They show up to work. If you were referred in by somebody, you feel like I have this obligation to, do a good job at this company. And plus, people there, right? Immediately there's chemistry. You know something about the company. You care about it. But oftentimes we go to the online postings, we go to the job boards, and we start applying instead of trying to build that network. And you can do that network through, of course, face-to-face, but you can do it through so many other ways. And like I had mentioned earlier, people want to work with people they like. People want to do business with people they like. When an employer is looking at their candidate database, there could be thousands of candidates in there. And the only way they can evaluate them first go around is by using the applicant tracking system and keywords. So what if you are the best candidate for the job, but you didn't quite put the keywords in right? Then you're never going to show up to the recruiter. But what if you met somebody that works at the company and they refer you in? And they refer you to somebody. And I think it was Stacia. I hope I'm saying your name right. I think you had said Honor Health. For example, if you don't have a connection at Honor Health, I know the director of talent acquisition, and I love her. Her name's Robin. She's phenomenal. And she's the kind of person that I have a relationship with, that she picks up my call when I call her. So if you need a referral to Honor Health, just let me know. Message me on LinkedIn. Say, hey, I'm really trying to get into Honor Health. This is the job I'm looking for. This is, I really am excited about them. Whatever. Send that to me, in LinkedIn along with your resume, and I will get it over to Robin and say, and make a recommendation. Like that recommendation is going to go so much further than applying to all the jobs online. And Robin, the director of talent acquisition, is going to see your resume for sure. She may not see it if it's in the portal. So see, there's a difference when we're talking about referrals. There's a difference when someone knows you and refers you and they're willing to put their name out there for you. It says something different. And at least their eyeballs are going to get on your resume. And then it's then you have to land the job. But getting into the door, networking is the deal. That's where most jobs are landed. Some type of networking, some type of referral. And the reality is it's not hard. I think we make it hard. I know I did before I understood it. You used to say the word networking to me and I'm like, let me run in the other direction. The last thing I want is someone handing me their business card and pitching me, and vice versa. I didn't want to hand my business card to somebody and do a pitch. No way. No way. I don't do small talk well. I'm not good at it. But give me a purpose. Let me find a commonality. Let me get to know you a little bit. I can do that. I can do those things. Those aren't hard. So instead of the word networking, think about it and just getting to know people, asking questions, being curious, building a friendship, building a relationship. And this doesn't have to even be somebody that you're going to build a relationship with forever, right? This can be just like, oh, you're an Ohio State Buckeye fan? I'm going to remember that about you. Like that's a commonality we have. That's something I love to talk about the Buckeyes. And it's fun. So what is your commonality? What is something unique that you have with that person? I have friends that are Michigan fans. And if you know anything about college football, like we don't like each other. Michigan, Ohio State, right? But it is also the fact that we don't like each other is a commonality and it's funny and we make fun of each other. Like that's a connection point. What are your connection points with people? Get a connection point. Mark has not made a comment this whole day and he puts Michigan stinks and I am right there with you, Mark. See? It's a connection point, you guys. People remember it. What are your connection points with people? That's what I'm talking about when I say networking. And you think, but it's a job. Again, we want to work with people we like. People we like. So think about some of the places where can you network? You can network, of course, at job fair and career events. Of course, you should be showing up to those, virtual and in person. And here's the thing. A lot of us will go to a career event or a job fair or won't go because we don't think it's valuable. What I encourage you to do is go anyway, because you never know who you're going to meet. If you think the companies in the room are not hiring for you, you don't know what they're hiring for in the future. You don't know what's coming. You don't know, maybe they don't have all their jobs posted. Maybe you don't know some of those companies. Go, show up, build connections, build some commonalities with people. If you went to a school, a college, do they have an alumni network? And in that alumni network, what events do they do? Do they do things? Harping back on my Buckeyes, there is a Ohio State alumni network for business owners. You can bet I'm plugged into that. And I haven't shown up to an event in years. I'm still plugged in, but I haven't shown up to an event in years. The timing just doesn't work for me. But all the people I met at those different events, we are still friends. We still connect with each other. Then we still do shout outs for each other. I can call any of them up right now and be like, hey, and we have that connection point. Are there chambers of commerce that are local that you could show up to? Any kind of professional associations. There is if you're in HR, SHRM is a great organization, of course, and they do 4 or 5 meetings around at least my area every month. No matter your industry, there's likely associations that you can show up to, and you can even ask to go at no cost because you're in career transition, and most of them will say yes, especially to the first time you go. So connect to professional associations. A great way to do that is you can even go into, let's do this live. We have a few minutes. Let's do this live so I can show you guys. I'm going to share my other screen again, and I'm going to go into ChatGPT, and let's just see. ChatGPT, don't fail me now. I'm going to ask, give me a list of 10 associations for the training and development industry. And let's see what it says. Here we go. So it's listing out some associations that for people in training and development that would be a good match. And these associations are, you can go check them out online. You can connect with them. They may have virtual events. Maybe they have an annual conference. Let's see. Would you like recommendations for specific certifications or networking opportunities within these associations? Let's say yes. And let's see what it tells me. So, it gives some certifications that would be great, maybe that's out there and available for people in training and development. How cool is that? So literally, you can do all this research right here on ChatGPT. And I love that it incorporates the links now, and you can go out and do the research. Would you like recommendations based on your specific career goals? So see, you can continue this conversation. It can help you identify. If you take your resume and drop it in here and you say, this is my experience, but I want to pivot or I want to change into this type of career, you can say, what do you recommend? And it'll give you maybe some training opportunities. It'll give you some associations to join. Let's try another one. Give me 10 associations for someone who is a, let's see, finance analyst. Let's see what it says. Oops. Let's try again. Okay, here we go. 10 associations. So here we go. So people that are in finance planning, finance professionals. So it's listing a whole bunch of different associations. And again, you just click on those links and go check them out and see if it's something you are interested in. It's so cool. It makes research so easy, you guys. So easy. And again, it's asking about certifications, different things. Oh, Rocio, let's do yours. Give me 10 associations for someone in medical billing to network. Okay, let's see if it has, here we go. There we go. Some really good ideas coming up right now. And so ChatGPT is free, but you can pay the additional $20 a month and it gives you even more and more stuff. All of these AI tools typically start out free, and then you can pay for more if you like. Not everybody needs it. I use this every single day, multiple times a day. And so I pay for it. But look at all the results here. This is so much faster than doing a Google search. Let's do, I gave you guys the idea to go and look for a job board, niche job boards. Okay, give me a list, of niche job boards for what industry? For aerospace. So let's see if it comes up with some job boards for aerospace. Here we go. So it's giving us some aerospace job boards, which is awesome. If you are in this industry, you need to go to these websites and take a look. It makes it easier for you. So it's not something to be scared of. You don't need to know how to program. You don't need to know, how about 10 job boards for healthcare. You don't need to know how to be fancy. You just know how to ask a question. And so if you are in the medical field, you need to be looking at some of these job boards. And it'll tell you what it focuses on. So hospital careers, obviously it's for hospitals, but it includes all roles, not just nurses and doctors. It includes everything. And so, all right, I'll move on from this now and go back to my other screen. So good, so good. I'm glad it worked. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So there are different places to network, and doing research on ChatGPT, it will give you a lot more details on that stuff. Okay, social media engagement, super important. So social media engagement, primarily when you're in job transition or you're looking for a new job, primarily I'm going to tell you to really think about LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn is the place you want to be. You want to make sure all of your other profiles are, good, that you're not saying anything crazy on them, because they'll do a search for you on you when they're going to hire you. It's one of the first things we look at before we even bring somebody in for an interview. We just peek at social media to see, if they're doing anything crazy, because you're a representation of that company, especially in the way it works now. You all have heard the stories. How about the lady that she was getting on a plane and she was complaining on, I can't remember if it was Twitter or Instagram or something. She was complaining about something on the airlines, and she wasn't nice. And when she landed, by the time her flight landed, she didn't have Wi-Fi in the air. By the time her flight landed, she was fired from her job. We've all heard stories like this. And so, if you need to clean up some social media stuff, do that. But really, you should be focused on LinkedIn. My friend Brenda Mariah talks about using LinkedIn in 5 minutes a day. Here are the things you need to do in 5 minutes a day. You need to go like a post or some posts. Go find some people and like their post, like and comment. Okay? You need to go like and comment on something. You need to connect. Go connect with at least one new person. So, send a connection request and write why you're trying. So going back to Stacia, let's talk about you. She's going to go off and do at least a connection request. I think we're already connected on LinkedIn, but if not, she's going to do a connection request with me, and then she's going to do a connection request with Robin, who I'm going to introduce her to. So that's one connection she's going to make today. So every day, go find a connection you need to connect to. Like and comment on somebody's post, at least one post, and then go out and either create a post or reshare somebody's post. So three things you need to do. Diego, good catch. You want to connect with somebody new? Go connect with Diego right now by clicking on his LinkedIn URL right there. You can scroll up through the chat and connect with other people. I just put the instructions on how to do that. So you can go out to LinkedIn, and when you get to LinkedIn, you need to get to your profile page. And an easy way to do that is to click on your picture. If you click on your picture, it'll take you to your profile page. And then that URL that's in the top search bar, that's the link we're dropping right here. So just copy that and paste it right into this call right now in this chat. And then we can click on each other's and connect. So right there, connect every day with at least one new person. Comment and like on somebody's post. And the third one, and the hard one sometimes, is creating your own post or resharing someone else's post. The cool thing about resharing is you reshare someone's post and you can put a comment at the top. So I reshare posts all the time. things that are interesting or fun. I have a resume. I follow a lot of career people. Amanda Miller, I follow, and I reshare her stuff all the time because it's so good. And she talks about resumes and formatting, and she's an expert when it comes to resumes. So I share her stuff. Why create my own when she does it better than me? Reshare and with a comment. I had a friend yesterday. She posted a picture of me and her and our friend Linda, because we invited her to come speak. So she posted that on LinkedIn, and then I reshared it and gave another shout out to her. She did such a great job, to her, and a kudos. So you can reshare, and then, especially if you're not comfortable creating posts yet, but when you are ready, create posts, and they don't have to be super long posts. They can be short. They can be a picture. They can be an event you're going to. Create a post, and it helps to brand you in whatever area you're trying to brand. So for Rocio, that's trying to do medical coding and billing, maybe you find some articles that talk about that, or training, or maybe you start a training program and you put on LinkedIn, I just started this training program, excited to wrap it up in 6 weeks so that I am certified medical biller. And then you start talking about medical billing daily on LinkedIn. Well, what happens is recruiters will start to get notified of your profile, especially when they're doing searches for medical billers. So that's one of the ways you can kind of brand yourself. So talk about things that matter. You can go out and reshare any of like my events that are coming. That's an easy thing because you're attending these, and or you can encourage people. Hey, I attended one of these. Go check this out if you want to learn a little bit about how to job search, whatever it is. Like, you can share other people. So 3 things. It's not overwhelming. 3 things. Like and comment, make a connection, and create a post or reshare a post. 3 things that you need to do on LinkedIn. And you can do those in 5 minutes each day. All right, the way that you maximize it is those 3 things every day. And then make sure you have a completed profile. Make sure you've done all the little things it tells you to do on the right-hand side. It'll tell you how to build out your profile. Make sure that you're building your network. You're connecting with people you know and people you need to know. So if there's a company that you're targeting and you don't know anyone at that company yet, start searching. Maybe you find somebody that's a second connection and you're like, ooh, I really need to know them. Or, oh, they're a recruiter at that company. I'm going to connect with them, and I'm going to send them a note in my connection request on why I want to connect with them. Hey, I'm currently looking for a new position, and Honor Health is one of my target companies, and I would love to make a connection with you. And here's my resume. You can attach your resume if you want. But on the connection request, you don't have to. It can just be, very generic. Or you can comment about something they put on social media, but put something in there to connect it. But that's how you build your network. And then you can do a ton of researching and applying for jobs on LinkedIn. And the reason I love the LinkedIn jobs feature is because you can often see who is posting that job. And so you apply, and then you connect with that recruiter. You connect with that person that posted the job right there. You don't have to do any researching. It's right there for you. And then again, 5 minutes a day. So Aries, how often should you create a post? Well, I recommend at least Monday through Thursday, you do the 5 minutes a day. You comment and like a post. You connect, make a connection. And the third thing is you either repost somebody's post or you make your own post. So Monday through Friday, doing those 3 things, only a couple minutes a day, and that will start to build your brand. Don't feel like all or nothing though. So don't get frozen and be like, I don't know what to say, so I'm not going to do anything. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't get frozen. Like, okay, fine. You didn't hit it every day. That's fine. Do what you can. But reposting is so easy and such a simple way to honor somebody else, give them, a boost, and then start to feel confident in posting your own stuff. I love when I see somebody resharing my stuff, and then I'll notice that they start posting their own stuff. Maybe they keep resharing my stuff for, helping people to get jobs, but they also, I can see the confidence start to build, and they'll start to make their own posts. It's so cool. It's so fun when that happens because they're building their brand. You're building your brand. And so here's my friend Brenda and her profile. This is an example of a really strong LinkedIn profile. So you might want to grab a screenshot. You might want to look up Brenda on LinkedIn. In fact, I'm going to find her and I'm going to give you guys her LinkedIn URL because her profile is awesome. She's also, she's one of my go-tos. I have a handful of go-to career coaches, resume writers, LinkedIn experts, and she's one of my go-tos. She's so amazing. And I utilize her for various training events. I call on her to be a speaker. I ask her to do outplacement. And so I just dropped her in there, Brenda Mariah, in the chat. Connect with her because her profile is so strong. And of course, hers is more around the career coaching, career strategy, because that's what she does. But I want you to get a feel for, look at her format. It has bullet points. It's simple to read. It's easy to understand. You know exactly what she does. Look at her title on the left-hand side. You can use more than one title in that area. Put in some key things about you. Maybe you do more than one thing. Maybe you don't, maybe you are a consultant or a program manager as well as an expert in finance or a lead trainer. Put those things in there. You can even ask ChatGPT, it has your resume. You can put your resume in there and you can ask it, what are some titles that I could use on LinkedIn? And it will give you some recommendations. So I just love this format. So connect with Brenda. And then we are connecting with each other on LinkedIn right now. So you go to your chat and scroll up and click on each of these links. Sometimes LinkedIn limits you to about 5 a day for some people. If you have the paid version, I think it's unlimited, but you might be restricted to 5 a day. So you might need to write down a couple names and look them up tomorrow if you hit your max. But that is important because it's not only the connection that they have, or it's not only the one-on-one, the connection with, like Brian and I, we've been connected on LinkedIn for a very long time. Brian used to work at USAA and we've done work together, and I he's just a really stand-up guy, and I'm a big fan. And so him and I have worked together. If Brian was to reach out and connect with any of our second connections, so these are people I have connection to, but he doesn't yet, I would have no problem with that. Like, he can reach out to anyone in my network he wants to. I have no problem with that. And so he can connect to my second levels, but he could also see our third level connections. And so that's how LinkedIn grows, that your network. You have the one-on-one, but if you're connected to me, I have over 20,000 connections on LinkedIn. So you automatically have a second level connection to all of my first connections. And so it gives us the capacity and the opportunity to connect with people that we would never have had that chance to connect with. If I need to meet with somebody from a company, I likely will have a connection to them somehow because I'm connected to so many recruiters. That's my world. So many people in workforce, so many people in economic development. That's my world. And so if I want to meet somebody from a company, we do hiring events all the time, and I'll be like, okay, I need some more companies in aerospace to come to this event. Who is not here? And let's say I do a search for Boeing. If I don't have a first connection, I know I will have a second connection because of my network, and I will reach out to them and say, hey, we're doing this hiring event for aerospace. We'd love to have you join us. That's how easy it is. You can connect to people that are second and third connections. And then we talked about AI a little bit. I showed you guys how it works. I use ChatGPT, Bing, Bard, Copilot. There's a whole bunch out there. It really, and they're all for the most part free on the get-go. And then some of them, like ChatGPT, you can pay an additional fee to have their upgraded version if you want, but you don't have to. And there are a million AI tools out there now. There are so many. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Just pick one and start using it. And then once you kind of feel comfortable and get good at that, this is an example of what I did. And what I want to send out to you guys is I went out to a program, and I'm going to share again because this AI stuff just, it makes me so happy to be able to share these kind of tools. So I went out to an AI tool called Gamma. And Gamma is an AI tool that will help you build presentations and documents. And I have been working on, and it's done. I finished it last night. I'm so excited, you guys. I have been working on an AI playbook for, oops, that's the wrong one. I've been working on that one too, but let me see. I have been working on a playbook. Here we go. An AI playbook for people in career transition. So for job seekers and people in career transition. And what I did was I said to this tool, it took some, I had to play with it for a while. It's not like I just put this in and it popped this up. I had to have some experience and expertise in this area. But what I basically had it help me build was I said, I want to help people who are in career transition make AI easy. And so I said, I want to create some tips and some content. So what I did was I just had it create a spreadsheet of, here are some tools you can use. And then here are, if you're trying to build a resume, here's some tips on how to do your resume and an activity to do. If LinkedIn, you want to make a really good LinkedIn profile, here's some prompts. That's the information you put into LinkedIn. And then, here's how to do it. If you want to do, here are threads. It explains what threads is. I don't have time right now to go into it. How do you craft accomplishment statements and so on. So I have, I think 10 or 12 things here. And this is not the final version, but anyway, I have 12 different pages, whole bunch of information about, how to network, all that. Yes, Susan, I will share that. I don't have it live, you guys, because I'm giving it only to people that attend my workshops. So, and then any keynote talks I do, I'm giving it out. And so you guys will get a copy, but it will be in your email. Otherwise, it's a fee-based product that is $29.99, but none of you have to pay for it. It's totally free, but you'll have to check your email to get it. And also, if you didn't check in at the beginning of the session, we're going to give the link to check in at the end. And that is a way that you'll get this file. So we have to have your information, your email, and you're going to get an email from us with this information. So see, it's another reason that, aren't you glad you're here today? You're going to get this information. And so these are some of the things you can do with AI, but when you get that book, that handbook, and I'm telling you, I'm so excited about it. I've put so much effort into it. And it's really good. And it's taken me about 3 months to develop because I just wanted it to be easy and right. So use that tool to do all these things that it's talking about on this slide. It'll make it super easy. So those are the tools that we have for you today. But we do have some additional options for you as you are looking back at, what are your next steps? So we do have some more workshops, which I'll get to on the next slide. But what I want you to do right now is take a look either at any notes you took today or think through what are some of the steps or a step. Let's just go with one. Let's go with one thing you need to do based on what you heard today as you are defining your career, as you are trying to come up with your company list, as you're trying to really think, am I the right cultural fit for a company? What is one thing you need to do based on what you heard today that will help you take a big step in your job search? I want you to put that in the chat. Take a second, think through what is one thing I need to do to take a step. And here's why I have you do this. Because when you write it down and then you put it out in front of people, you are much more likely to actually do it. We can say, I want to do all this stuff. I want to do this. I want to take care of this. I want to do this. But until we actually commit to it and say, I'm doing this, oftentimes it won't happen. And because some of us, we're sitting at home and we're like, oh, no, I don't know. I want to do this, but I didn't get it done. But Marlena, I want you to take a course because you have a skill that you said you want to improve. Stephanie, I would love to see you post on LinkedIn. Stacia, you're gonna send me your resume and you're gonna ask for the connection on Honor Health. Fondip, you're going to create a list of companies. And here's another one, you guys. And this is a challenge that I am giving and opening up to anybody on the call today. If you, over the next week, so it has to be by the 19th, by Wednesday, February 19th, if you create a list of 10 companies that you are interested in working for, and you send it to me on LinkedIn, you send me the list of companies you want to work for, and you send me kind of the type of job you're looking for. So I need to know a little bit about, you're looking for a project manager job or administrative support or whatever it is. If you send me a list of 10 companies and you send me a list of the type of job you're looking for in LinkedIn, it has to be through LinkedIn, then I will do a shout out. I will make a post. I will do a shout out about you that you're looking for. Hey, Kimberly is looking for this type of role, and and I'll look at your LinkedIn profile and call a couple things out. Here are some of our target companies, and I will tag those 10 companies, and then I will ask my network to, do you know anyone you can introduce Kimberly to? Please share this post. And so I've been doing this over the last couple weeks with people in my sessions, and they are getting some really good connections through that. So here's what you have to do. I'm going to write it down because it has to be right or I cannot do it. I cannot help you if you cannot help yourself. So 10 companies, type of job, and message me through LinkedIn. Okay, that's it. That's all you have to do. Send me the 10 companies, send me the type of job you're looking for, and then message it to me through LinkedIn. And I will make sure that I do a shout out. Now, the last time I did this, I think I had 10 or so people that messaged me, which was a really high response rate as compared to the previous sessions I'd done. And so it took me a little bit of time to do all the shout outs. So just know that it might take me a little bit of time to do all the shout outs because if it takes a little bit of time, because I don't like to do them back to back to back. I like you to get the time in front of people. So, all right. That's what we're going to do for that. That's your challenge. Here's a couple upcoming sessions that you might be interested in. Lori Norris is a phenomenal resume writer. She is nationally accredited. She is locally and nationally has gotten awards. She is part of the National Resume Writers Association. She's recertified every year. She has a specialty in military also. If you're military, then she is the go-to for that. But she knows how to work resumes and profiles for everybody. She is teaching a deep dive resume workshop February 19th. It's virtual, it's free. And then we have Brenda Mariah. Brenda, I just showed you her profile. Again, she's one of my go-tos. She's going to talk about networking and branding. Not only is she an expert in this area, but she did it herself. She totally rebranded and she went from engineer to career strategy coach. That was one rebrand. She's had a couple different rebrands. And so she's going to walk you through how to network, how to make connections, and how to brand yourself. That's February 25th. And then I have the interview prep. So we're going to go deep into how to create those statements that you're going to interview with. So those are some of the things you can do. And again, all free. We are getting ready to release our March, April, and May workshops as well. The grant we're on right now ends at the end of May. So we are working on renewing it. I don't know if it will renew, but we're working on it. And so that's, again, the reason we keep pushing the data side. If you are in Arizona and if you are in Pinal County, this is the organization that is sponsoring these events right now. And so jump on, if you're in that area, they have a lot of support for you. So make sure you go to pinal.gov, pinal.gov career services, and or give them a call or scan that QR code, and they would love to be able to support you more. Oh, hi, Jose. Look at that. Jose is on the line right now, and he just dropped in information about Pinal County, and he gave a phone number. Good to see your face. Hi. And so he, when we're off here in just a second, I'm going to open up the call. So if you have questions for him, feel free to ask. But he's on the line if you'd like to ask him any questions in the chat as well. And then Career Connectors is the organization I run, and we offer programs and events as well. And so the next one we have coming up is Red Hot Resumes. It's one of our greatest attended events. And this is, all of these ladies are with the Resume Writers Council, Coaching Association of Arizona, as well as the National Resume Writers Association. We're going to talk all things resume. And so what we do is we take a lot of questions that come in for this event, and we ask these ladies and they answer them. You can also ask questions in the chat, and then they'll go answer those as well. And so that's Thursday, March 6th. We will also be doing a piece on LinkedIn. So all these ladies also have an expertise in LinkedIn. And so we will be asking questions about LinkedIn, how to get seen, those kind of things. And so I hope to see you there. And if you did not check in yet, I ask that you do scan this QR code so that, one, you can get the resources that I mentioned. You guys will be the first ones to get this AI tool. So send in this, get on this link, make sure you've registered and signed in. And then Wendy or Sharon, can you drop the link again in the chat in case? Thank you. So Wendy just dropped the link in the chat. If this QR code doesn't work for you, then go ahead and get into the chat and click on that link. So thank you all. This is my information. So we have a QR code here. You can also get on jessicapiercespeaks.com. I have information out there. You can contact me. My LinkedIn URL is also there, as well as I'm on Instagram a lot daily and posting different job search stuff as well. Thank you for being here today. I am going to go ahead and allow, if you want to unmute or if you have any questions, go ahead and do that now. You can ask in the chat. I'm going to actually scroll through to see if there are any questions I missed. But thank you all for being here today. I hope you got something out of it, and I look forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn. Thanks, Jose. I'm glad you're here today.
This was awesome, Jessica. I have to prep for an interview, but I couldn't miss your thing here. So,
well, I hope it helped. Maybe it helped a little bit with prepping for your interview.
Yeah, with all the energy and everything. Yes. So just wish me luck. Okay.
I will. You've got it.
All right.
You got it. Bye-bye. Good luck.
Bye. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I like your family picture, though.
Oh, thanks. That pops up when I'm switching screens.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'd like to say thank you as well.
You're welcome. Is that Rocio?
Yes, Rocio. Hi. Thank you so much for all your help, for pointing me out and helping me with, my questions. And then I at the end, I couldn't, for some reason, my texts were not going through to you. So to everybody. So, but I just wanted to say, beautiful family. I had typed that, but didn't go through. And thank you so much for everything. The class was amazing. So thank you so much. I mean, I don't know how, just amazing all the, that you're putting yourself out there to help us as well to, to connect us through LinkedIn. And one of the things that, you asked us if we could put what we were going to do.
Mhm.
And I'm going to create a LinkedIn account because I don't have one. So I'm barely going back into the workforce after 14 years. So
Wow.
I have to update everything, my skills, my get, with the times, like you said that we're living in, and then going to these amazing tools that we have now, like the Chat GPT and and the LinkedIn accounts and everything, and your help. That's amazing for you to do that for us. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you. I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
here.
Yes, many blessings. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to getting all the material you're going to send us as well.
Got it. Yep. Should be by this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Onesimo, I don't know if I have your hand up. Did
Hello,
you have?
Jessica. How are you
Hi.
today? Great presentation. My
you.
name is Onesimo Padilla. We've been LinkedIn friends for about 6 years, probably. I took some of your trainings and some of the events you had about 5, 6 years ago when I was unemployed, and it was very helpful.
Oh,
Obviously,
great.
I landed in a good spot. So, jumping right back into that, recent company layoffs. I was
Oh.
working at Citrix, and they were laying off, which they've been doing every year. But I pushed and shoved through all these layoffs, but this time I didn't make it. So I'm in Arizona, and I know there's a Arizona workforce, but it's on the west side. Is that the one like on Dunlap?
Are you in the West Valley?
I'm in Peoria. Yeah.
Okay. So Jose, I don't know if you're still, yeah. Do you know if that West Valley facility is still there?
I'm not too sure. I can find out and then
Yeah,
relay
would
that
you
information.
mind? Because they were, and I feel like they moved, but I can't
Mhm.
remember for sure. And so Jose, I'll take a look for you and see if we can figure out an answer and a contact for you, okay?
Okay, cool. Because that's been a valuable program for me back then as well. So
Yeah.
kind of just taking advantage of these things in parallel, right? Or is a good approach. Finally, the last thing I want to mention, if I could, real quick, I do have a referral from Honor Health, architecture manager. We used to work together in customer success, and if I haven't looked at Honor Health jobs, but I managed, some of the largest healthcare customers in the Southwest, if not the largest, right? And
Yeah.
Honor Health was one of them. So I'd love to, maybe send you over like you asked, and maybe you can get me in contact. But I'm going to look at their jobs and, put something intelligently together over the next day or so and send it
Yeah.
over. Fair enough?
They're doing a ton of hiring, so absolutely.
Super.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Fontip, did you have a question?
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I can't.
I'm so sorry.
It's kind of going in and out.
Okay. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with my laptop. Yeah, but first of all, I really appreciate your webinar. It's really helpful, and yeah, and have a lot of insight from this. So I just have kind of a short question. So I try to went to the conference, and then I met some people that I'm interested to work with the organization, and then I talk with them, and they say that okay, you can send the email and follow up and CV, something like that. And I did that. But then I feel like I get really kind of low response back from them. And I talked with some of my friends, and they mentioned that maybe if I haven't talked with them before in the email, and if I attach CV in the first email, sometimes the system might be screen it as a spam or something like that. So it might make them don't see my email. So I'm not quite sure if that true or not, or it is kind of the good idea that we should not put the CV in the first email or something like that. So is there any suggestion on how to make them see my email and respond back or something like that? I'm not quite sure.
So I would recommend, have you tried to connect with them on LinkedIn?
I try some of them, yeah, but
Yeah.
it,
That would be, I would try and do that. And when you hit the connection request, put a little comment in there about maybe you met them at a conference or wherever it is that you met them, or how, why you are connecting with them. Try that, because sometimes people will accept connection requests on LinkedIn, but never get to their email. So I would try that also. And you don't have to put your resume, especially on LinkedIn, because they have access to your profile, which is right there.
okay.
So try that. And then if they don't answer your email, you can, or your LinkedIn request, then you can follow up without putting your resume on there for sure.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I will try to connect them with on LinkedIn first, and yeah, maybe try to follow up with them again. Yeah, and I also will try to like kind of list the 10 company list, and will reach out to you via the message on LinkedIn.
That would be great.
So much, very helpful.
All right, thank you so much. I think maybe Diego was next.
Yes, real quick, Jessica, I'm about to sending you the assignment via LinkedIn messages.
Great.
Yes, thanks for that help. I think that would be wonderful. I think that is a great idea. So I like that. Let's see what happens. I think
That's
it's going
great.
to create some connections. I like that.
You're welcome. Thank you. Jeffrey.
I have some questions too.
Hi.
Yeah. Hello. I really appreciate you sharing the slides.
Yeah.
So, in order to get examples of how other people answer the questions in an interview, and do you have any recommendations where I can find that, so that way I could be a good candidate for any company I apply for, whether it's out in Arizona or out of state?
So examples of how people answer questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how I got
So,
offer.
do you use any of the AI tools yet?
I don't think so. I haven't used that.
Okay, I would go to chatgpt.com.
Oh yeah, that's what.
Yeah, go there, and I would say, I would ask it, just say, give me some guidance on how to answer interview questions, or give it some, or ask it for some example interview questions, and then you could say, how would you answer this? What kind of role are you looking for?
I'm looking for market research.
Okay, great. Market research. So say, here's what then this kind of prompt I would put in into ChatGPT. I would say something like, can you give me 10 interview questions for somebody in market research? And then would say, can you give me, after he does that, then say, can you give me example answers to these questions?
I see.
So that'll give you an idea. But even more important than that is coming up with your examples, right? So we talked a little bit about that. My workshop, I think, is in 2 weeks around, we're doing the deep dive in interviewing. So come to that if you can, Jeffrey, because we're going to walk through a process of developing those answers.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hassan.
Hello.
Hello.
For the link you just shared, you will send us the handout that you made using the AI, right?
Yep.
Okay. I have a question regarding the desk characteristics. Could you give me example how to make use of it while doing job search or during the interview? My character.
Sorry about that. I missed some of that. So you want me to give you an example of what?
My desk character. You gave us a link for to know our character using the DISC.
Oh, the AI tool I made?
The desk, DISC.
The disk.
Everybody
yes.
to, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get an email that has that link.
Okay, so if I know my character, how to make use of it during the interview or during a phone call?
Yeah, So what you're when you do that, you're gonna get a report, and the report is going to give you things like your ideal work environment, your strengths, some of your behavior strengths. And those are the type of things that you can talk about in an interview. So for example, if they say, what are some of your strengths? Then you can even tell them, hey, I recently took this behavior assessment, this DISC, and here are some of the strengths that it came out with. And I would agree with these strengths, and this is why. And then you can give an example. Or why do you want to work here? And you can say, well, on this assessment, here are some of the things that came out. My ideal work environment includes working around maybe a team. You like to work with a team, Hossam. And so you say, I enjoy, my assessment said I like working with a team, which is true. I like working with teams. I like being on projects where there are people involved. And so that's the way you would incorporate that into your interview.
Okay, to contact you and send the companies and the list of companies and my title, how to do it using LinkedIn, because I have the normal version, not the paid one. Is it okay? Can I still send you something or not?
Yeah, you can send it to me. Just connect with me on LinkedIn and then send me your list.
Okay, I already sent the connect request, so once you accept, so I can send you the list, right?
That's right.
Okay.
All right,
Jessica,
thank you.
I need 1/10 of your energy. I seriously do.
Real quick, let's see. Before I go to the next person, I have a question in the chat about how do you list caregiving or sabbatical for law? You just put it on there, Kira. You just put on there the years or the time frame, and you can say caregiving for family member, or you can say for long employment gap. I wouldn't use that. But maybe instead, were you volunteering? Were you taking care of kids? Were you doing something? I wouldn't necessarily put employment gap. I think different people have different ideas on that, but you don't even have to address it, in my opinion. Okay, Hadger, I think you're next.
Yes, hi, Jessica. Thank you so much for this workshop. That's the second one I'm attending. I did the one with Lori, and it was very, very instructional. I had a question that I put on the chat, but I don't think you had a chance to see it. So what to do with experience learned from a job that you were terminated from? Like how can you list it if you don't want to say that you were terminated?
Oh, I see. How long were you there?
I would say 16 months.
Okay, so a year and a half almost. And I mean, you still should put it on your resume.
Okay.
And even if you were terminated, you probably have some good experience, some things you did while you were there. And then the only time it would come up is if they said, why did you leave that job? And so kind of the question there is, you need to come up with a response that still honors you and honors the company and tells the truth. And so you can say, I don't know your exact situation. So, but you could talk this out with somebody and just say, hey, I was let go because yesterday I just had this conversation actually with somebody who was let go. He was let go because a new executive came in. And so they were going in a different direction. So he explained that to me and I was like, all right, that happens. Maybe the goals weren't clear and you didn't realize that, this was part of your goals, and so you didn't, you didn't hit the goals or the target. Like don't ignore the job, put the job out there. You did this job and you did some things really well there, but just be ready, come up with your reason on why you left. And so that it's a positive response, because not everybody is for every company and people know that. And it's okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you also for the idea of LinkedIn. I'm not a big fan. I've never been there. So because of you, I will jump in.
Yay! You can do it.
Yeah, thank you so much again.
David, I have you next.
Hey, Jessica, I just want to say thank you for having this workshop. I really did appreciate all the material that you went over, and I can definitely say that I gained a lot of insight from you. So I want to first say thank you, and like everybody else that's saying it, you do have a very beautiful family.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So I have a bit of a sort of like a climb in terms of what I'm looking for. And I have messaged you on LinkedIn
Okay.
recently about it. But me and my wife were trying to relocate to like the Chandler area. We're from Virginia. We're pretty close to DC.
Okay.
So yeah, we're trying to have a bit of a challenge by moving from the Northern Virginia area to somewhere in Chandler. The issue is that my wife has very limited work experience, and we're trying to see if we can get her into maybe just like an administrative role just to kind of get the ball rolling for her, um, for her professional career. Not that she doesn't have any experience in her professional career, but like, it's not anything great or anything. And then there's me where I have a little bit more experience in my professional career. But unfortunately, last Monday I was let go. So we have the unfortunate situation of both of us being unemployed at the moment. So being able to balance both, me and her is a bit of a struggle. And at the same time, you know, wanting to relocate to Chandler, despite being in Virginia, it's another tall task. Would you be able to provide any advice on what me and her can do to like overcome some of these challenges and you know how we can meet some of those goals?
Yeah, so I have so many thoughts. The first one here that I'm doing while you're talking, if you can tell, I'm looking off to the side. I was just pulling a list. I went on to ChatGPT and I said, give me a list of staffing firms that staff for administrative positions in the Chandler, Arizona area. So here's 4. I'm just going to copy those over and put them in the chat right now. And the reason I'm giving you staffing companies is because it's a really great way to get started. And so staffing firms can place people fairly quickly, and you don't have to be committed to the company forever. You know what I mean? So you can feel like, okay, this is pretty good. So check out some staffing firms and
Okay.
see, from an administrative standpoint. And then what is your industry?
I'm trying to look for like more like data operations or like, client services, specialists, like those type of roles. The job that I was in, it was more of a data processing kind of role. That involved me working with different clients and handling their data work. So it's a very, operations based type of role. In terms of, later on in my career, I do want to see if I can go more into being a business analyst. Currently, I'm taking a specialization course to help me with, I guess being sort of certified in business analysis. But while that's ongoing, I'd rather get something that I can, kind of put my name in and financially speaking, support me and my wife in the meantime.
And there are a ton of companies. If you're specifically looking for Chandler,
Mhm.
that's where I live. And
Okay.
I've lived here 26 years now.
Okay.
And there is all around Phoenix. There are tons of kind of technology companies, data companies.
Mhm.
There's advanced manufacturing. So all of those companies could really use, probably have jobs for somebody like you.
Okay.
The link I put in the call or in the presentation around OEO. Oh, we're over time. Office of Economic Opportunity. I'm going to, or look for your email and go to that site, because that website, Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity, talks about the different types of jobs that are here and what companies are hiring. So that's a great way to get connected to see, what's hiring. Obviously you can use ChatGPT to ask you, do research to find out what companies there are, and then connect like crazy on LinkedIn with people from those companies.
Okay.
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 All right, you guys,
Alrighty.
I'm so sorry I have to shut the call down. We're over time. But feel free to message me on LinkedIn. And thank you all for